Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm, and you are watching second and final part of What If Naruto and Hinata left the village after Sasuke Retrieval arc. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Kiba said softly, "Akamaru, what's wrong, boy?" With a quiet moan, Akamaru said something that only the Kiba of the Inuzuka clan could comprehend. "What, you smell blood?" Shizune and Tsunade approached them and asked, "What's this about blood? I did just hear you say Akamaru smelled blood, correct?" Kiba sniffed the air and nodded. He sniffed more forcefully and said, "Someone was just attacked. The attacker left. But someone is wounded." Kiba leapt onto Akamaru's back and exclaimed, "Oh crap, it's Naruto." "Hinata with him." The hand up was accepted, and Shizune and Tsunade nodded. "We're going to check it out. Coming?" They hardly had time to seize anything before Akamaru took off, saying, "We'll go faster this way." Given that Kiba had reared Akamaru from a puppy, he was probably accustomed to the way he ran. After a brief period of running, they skidded into the park and noticed Hinata assisting Naruto with his walking. From Akamaru's back, Tsunade leapt down and asked, "What happened here?" He had dozens of needles protruding from his back, as everyone could see. Naruto said, "Shizune, come over here." Shizune joined Tsunade. "Naruto, we're going to pull those needles out and then heal your back. Ready?" "Yeah." To prevent further harm, each needle was carefully removed one at a time. Hinata was aware that Naruto's face was drawn and his teeth were clenched, but he remained silent the entire time. They fixed his back, allowing healing chakra to enter Naruto's body, and took off his shirt and jacket, which were stained with blood and had dozens of tiny holes in them. He got up a little unsteadily and said, "Thanks." Tsunade handed Naruto his clothes back, and he put them back on despite their current condition. "Now explain to me what happened." "We were attacked." Hinata began to describe the incident. "The attacker used needles. Naruto was flirting with me, and took the hit that was meant for me unintentionally. The attacker said that I was the target and that she wouldn't let us say our I do's." The attacker seemed reluctant to finish off Naruto. With a nod, Kiba dragged Naruto onto Akamaru's back and asked, "Kiba, would you mind taking Naruto back to his house? Shizune and I will escort Hinata home and explain the situation." Everyone agreed. Naruto gripped the back of Kiba's coat as Akamaru began to run. Naruto remained silent for a moment before responding. "Did I hear you correctly? They didn't want to let you two say your I do's. That means that you two are engaged. I'm surprised her father is allowing this." "It makes sense. His clan and mine had the same ancestor. The person who founded my clan was born without the Byakugan. He had another bloodline limit, which I am and my sister can use. And as you know, our two clans are working together. You know something? I've liked Hinata since we were little. But you beat me to the punch. But as long as she's happy, who cares? I certainly don't. I've never seen her this happy, and I've known her a long time, since we were little. I've never actually seen your bloodline limit though. Isn't it called the Shuniji or something?" Akamaru growled and slowed down as they approached Naruto's front yard. Naruto descended and asked, "Can you make it to the front door?" He started to walk to the house, saying, "Yeah, I can. Thanks for the lift. If I ever get the chance, I'll show it you." Now that he had just one passenger, Akamaru ran much faster and bounded off again, saying, "I'll hold you to that." Akamaru let out a bark. "I know. I'm worried too. Why would someone go after Hinata? If they were aiming for the Hyuga clan, it would make more sense to go after Hanabi. But it has to do with her betrothal. We'll figure it out." The ladder was pushed up to her attic by the unidentified girl. As she started to climb, it creaked. But she chose to ignore this. She had grown used to it for a long time because it was the only way to access the attic. She had always disliked this aspect of her old home, but she had no choice but to leave if she hoped to. It had never been good for her here, and she had nothing to do with it. Her now deceased parents were the first thing that incited hatred toward her. Her mother had shared a bed with a stranger who had been straying. The outcome of this affair was her. Apparently, she also made people think of her crazy grandmother. Her grandmother claimed to have seen visions as a young woman and even went so far as to refer to them as prophecies. Nobody had taken any of their words seriously. Her grandmother now lived a long way from society, didn't give a damn about how she looked, and didn't want to fit in at all. As far as the general public was aware, none of them had yet materialized. Few, however, were aware that one had truly materialized. Her grandmother had prophesied her birth long before her father had met her mother. She would never get married or have children, according to her mother, who had refused to believe her. She was born shortly after her mother became pregnant. Her grandmother had made multiple attempts to take her in. However, until she was old enough to make her own decisions, her mother had adequately protected her. She began drinking excessively after that, which ultimately caused her to die of alcohol poisoning. Good-for-nothing parents. Stupid grandma, who needs you? Not this girl. I'll prove you all wrong. I will. I'll get out of this place and make something of myself. When I eventually die someday, I'll go rub in your faces. The girl got to the attic and entered. Disgusted, she scrambled to her feet and spat on the ground. She walked over to the old bookshelf in the corner and took out a stack of papers, knocking off a number of other books in the process, saying, "Just watch me." When they landed, dust flew everywhere. The air cleared and she coughed. She started to pick them up, saying, "Crap." She noticed a particularly old-looking one as she returned them to the shelf. She sat down and opened it. The journal was old. Surprisingly, it contained only a few entries, 2 brief ones. She perused them. It was a very odd first entry. "I had another vision tonight. An union will be established long after my generation has passed. That marriage and that union will only be the beginning of the significant changes that will occur. The changes will stem from that union. However, that union might or might not take place. It will be attempted to be stopped by one of my future descendants." She was reading this entry when I saw her. I hope she understands that cursing the dead is bad. However, these changes could also be positive or negative. The results have not been made available to me. Whoever that girl ends up being for me in the future, she will be the instrument of destiny and fate. She turned to the second entry, startled to see her grandmother's handwriting, and said, "Great, another crazy loon. Arrogant bastard, thinking he can lecture me when he's not even here. My grandma must get it from him. My daughter is a complete idiot. She is descended from that man, as am I. Her child will be the instrument of destiny and fate. But no, at least not in her opinion. It cannot be. She has never had and never will have a lover. What garbage. A person like that has no right to be his descendant. I'm happy that she received the gift and that her child will as well. No, her child will be the one who is genuinely deserving." Now she was angry. What authority did her grandmother possess to discuss her future? The journal dropped out of her hand, and her eyes widened. "I'll prove you wrong, Baka Grandma. I'll never be what you 2 crazy prophets say I will be." She was seeing something in her imagination. Her eyes flashed at something she had never seen in her life. A wedding caught her eye. A contented pair had just been united and were sharing a kiss. The potential future was shown in a flash forward. She realized there were 2 possible futures somehow. In one terrible future, everything was destroyed, and everyone was either dead or dying. A bright future was the other. She returned to herself with a gasp. Her knees trembled as she exclaimed, "What? Was that? Have I lost it, just like my grandma?" No, she regained her confidence and sat up, saying, I'll just become what they foresaw. I won't let my destiny control me." She had just taken the first step without realizing it. "But it won't hurt to see how this plays out. If I get the chance, and evidence comes up proving I'm not insane, I'll just kill them. Prevent both futures from happening." In the hallway, Kana shifted uneasily. After learning that she might have relatives in Konoha, she had traveled far from her previous home, in pursuit of a new one. She had therefore brought her few belongings with her on the long journey, hoping to start over. She had come in late last night, exhausted and ragged. She had stayed at a late opening inn that night. She had asked the Uzumaki family the following morning. Furthermore, the servant who had guided her to a study was still not outside. Kana was now an adult. She was tall and slender. Her head was covered in short, bangless, and mouthy brown hair. She gazed out of her eye sockets with brown eyes. She wore a peasant top and a knee-length skirt, 2 of her few possessions. At her feet were the bags that held everything she owned in this world. Actually, Kana's only hope at this point was that they received the blood sample she sent in the mail so that their relationship could be established. After returning from the study, the servant led Kana inside. Kana bowed to the servant and said, "Thank you." After bowing back, the servant left her alone with a dark-haired, blue-eyed woman. As the woman walked up to Kana, she looked up anxiously. "I received your blood sample. It didn't match up with mine, but I did have suspicions my husband had someone before me. So I checked it with the DNA of my other 2 kids along with the DNA of my deceased husband." The woman nodded and asked, "And have you gotten the results?" The woman laughed and said, "Can you tell me? As you're the head of this clan, I'd respect you." "My suspicions were correct. Minato had another before me. You're his daughter. I may not be your mother by birth, but a daughter is a daughter no matter how it is. If you'd like me to be your stepmom, I will be." Kana smiled as she looked up. You're welcome to stay here. And I'm not the head of my clan. That would be your half brother, Naruto, who's younger than you. Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind, I would like to get to know my family here for a while. I never knew any family back home. My dad was never around. My grandma is completely crazy, and my mom didn't really care about me. The only thing she did was protect me from my grandma who wanted custody of me until I was old enough to choose for myself. She died of alcohol poisoning 2 years ago. With her new daughter, Kushina took a seat. You don't have to be so formal. Call me whatever you're comfortable calling me. Our family sure has a thing for sad pasts. Yours is almost as bad as my son's before we got reunited. Would you like to meet your siblings? Kana was able to nod. 2 individuals entered after Kushina rang a bell twice. They both had blue eyes and blonde hair. They were shinobi, and she knew it. With the exception of their gender, they appeared to be identical twins. Kushina turned to face Kana and said, "UHHM. Kushina? Would I have to become a shinobi?" Kana concealed her surprise. Her brother was the blonde. She had a vision of a couple getting married, and the blonde was one of them. She was incapable of killing her brother. If she couldn't prevent it in any other way, she silently decided to murder the person he was to marry, whoever she was. She was brought back to reality by the blonde boy's laughter. Kana shook her brother's outstretched hand and said, "Many here are not shinobi. If you don't want to be a shinobi, you don't have to. My name is Naruto. It's nice to meet you." He bowed and said, "So my family grows. Welcome." Her brother was nudged aside by the girl. Kana had just nodded when Shinobu had taken her bags and was giving her a hand up. "I'm Shinobu. Don't mind him. Would you like me to show you around the house?" "Thank you." As they were leaving the room, Kushina and Naruto could be heard arguing. Even though it was 10 in the morning, Naruto wanted to go back to sleep, but his mother wouldn't let him without a fight. Later that afternoon, Kana was offered a cup of tea by a woman named Kin. A young woman was admitted after another. Saya, she thought, answered the door. The other person in her vision was her. Kana paused, thinking about what she was going to do. Kin saw that she was staring at her. The cup of tea was put down, and someone said, "Oh, that's Hinata Hyuga, Naruto. Sama's fiancé. They're to be married soon. I can't wait." "Thank you. It's been a long journey here. After this I think I'll go look around the village. Since I'll probably be living here from now on." Kin sat down beside her. "Really? So you must be the new sibling of Naruto. Sama, your brother is a very kind person. He's opened up his home to us after ours was no longer safe to stay in." Kana observed that Naruto and Hinata left after noon. When they returned, they announced that they were engaged. And she was aware that they wouldn't split up based only on what she had imagined might happen in the future. She would therefore have to murder Hinata because she had failed to prevent it prior to the engagement. She saw no other choice, but her brother would be upset. She trailed after them. She trailed after them to a stone that was engraved and polished. "This is the grave of their father." As a blonde woman approached them to offer congratulations, Kana climbed up a tree and hid. A black-haired woman carrying a pig trailed behind her as she went, searching for the blonde. The blonde had fled, and the two lovers pointed in that direction. Unaware that she would soon be dead, Kana watched her brother playfully flirt with his fiancée, feeling both guilty and nauseous. She said, "Forgive me, Naruto." Then she let loose the needles, launching them at her target. She had discovered them in the attic while packing. She hadn't had time to apply the poison that they had brought. To her dismay, however, Naruto abruptly stepped in front of them, and they struck him instead. Under Hinata's guidance, he collapsed to his knees. "Who's there?" shouted Hinata. There was a problem with her eyes. It might as well be jutsu, since she was aware that Hinata was a shinobi. From the tops of the trees, Kana yelled, "I won't let you two say your I do's. It was supposed to be you, not him." Naruto got up with difficulty. She cursed at her failed attempt on Hinata's life, angry at herself for hurting her brother, and left, believing Hinata would worry more about Naruto than pursue him. "Why Hinata? Why not me? If you have a problem concerning me, take it out on me, but I won't let you hurt my fiancé." A light knocked on Naruto's door, waking him up. He glanced at his alarm clock and grumbled. 9:30 in the morning was the time. He was aware that Shinobu was only attempting to wake him up at this moment because he had almost died the night before. Naruto flexed his back and sat up, saying, "Come in." His mother entered holding a black velvet box. Kushina sat down at the foot of his bed and asked, "How are you feeling?" Kushina opened the box in her hand and said, "I'm fine. Do you need something?" There was a necklace inside. A ruby was set in the center of a 1-inch Wide red and gold sun necklace. Although Naruto thought the necklace was lovely, he would not wear it. As his mother shut the box, Naruto smiled and said, "This isn't for you. Your father gave me this as an engagement present. I'd like you to give it to Hinata as one." Naruto retrieved the box. Kushina left the room, leaving Naruto in a state of complete confusion. "I was pretty sure you wouldn't have one. Hinata is your first. And you're hers. Treasure her." His door was knocked on once more. It was Saya this time. Naruto. "Sama, Hinata. Sama is here to see you." Saya nodded and walked away, saying, "Tell her I'm coming." Naruto got dressed after finding some clean clothes. He thought about the necklace just as he was ready to leave the room. After sprinting back to his bed, he snatched it up and tucked it into his pocket. A fretting Hinata was pacing the living room when he came running down the stairs. A sword case was fastened to her chest. When she heard footsteps upstairs, she looked up. Hinata shuffled her feet and said, "Naruto, how is your back? Also, if you don't want to marry me anymore, I'd understand." To give the two some alone time, Saya pulled Shinobu from the room. "It's fine, Hinata. And I'd never say I don't want to marry you. That'd be a lie. You stood by me when someone was after my life. I'll stand with you. We'll get through this together." He opened the velvet box. When she saw what was inside, she gasped. Hinata didn't object when he unclasped it and placed it on her. "My father gave this to my mother as an engagement present, and now I would like to give it to you." She removed the sword case and produced a sheathed sword, saying, "Thank you, Naruto. It's good that I have something to give you now then." She revealed the blade's two sides to him as she took the sword out of its sheath. It was a traditional katana, with the Namikaze and Hyuga family symbols engraved on opposite sides. Naruto removed the blade from her grasp and tested its balance. "It has full tang, which means it's battle ready. Though I know you prefer your knuckle blades. It's a gift from my family to symbolize our marriage." The sword was well balanced. He gave it to Hinata and gave her the necklace box, saying, "Wow. Thank you, Hinata. This is amazing." Hinata blushed violently and said, "I'll treasure this always." She brushed her hair back from her neck to reveal the necklace and said, "You're welcome. I'll always treasure this as well." The word's been spread. It's now well known that we're engaged. Naruto put the sword on display in his room and Hinata escorted him upstairs. "I'm going to put this upstairs. If you would like, you can come up too. Though let's keep the door open just in case." He saw that the family symbols were also on the sheath. Hinata's flame was encased in a circle for the Hyuga clan. Both Minato's symbol and Naruto's swirl mark on his clothing were well known to the Namikaze clan. Hinata was consulting with a kimono maker for her wedding kimono that day, so she was only able to visit briefly. They had decided that nothing would stop them from organizing their wedding. When Naruto mentioned wearing something casual to his wedding, Kushina had given him a harsh reprimand. After that, he had left the house and never returned. Hinata was shocked to learn that Naruto was missing when she dropped by the following day to ask if he wanted to spend the day with her. Thinking she had pushed her son away, Kushina was in a panic. She needed a lot of persuasion that it wasn't her fault. Saya made some tea and offered it to the upset mother, saying, "Besides, Naruto Sama wouldn't do that to his family. Or leave Hinata Sama behind and make her worry." In order to relax, Shinobu also accepted a cup, and she advised Hinata to do the same. "There is no time for tea. I will discuss with my father the possibility of enlisting some members of my clan to assist with the search." Hinata started to walk away, but Kushina stopped her. "We also need to talk to the Hokage about this. I want Shiro and Kairo to go with you. This might be another attempt on your life, in my opinion. The last time, Naruto got in the way. I regret to inform you that he is also very easy to kidnap. It could be a strategy to keep him out of your way long enough to murder you. At least we know he's alive. For some reason, the assailant doesn't want to harm him," Hinata reflected. "All right. That sounds like a plan. Let's find Naruto," Shiro and Kairo said as they stood up and departed with Hinata. "I agree with you," Tsunade said, adding that she would send help to look for Naruto. "He doesn't typically take off all at once. There's a problem." "This is a discreet job," she said, and Hinata, Shiro, and Kairo departed to go to the Hyuga household. "I'll get some Anbu on this right away. Foul play is suspected in the disappearance of the Namikaze clan's leader. This must be an inside job, as much as I hate to say it. Our goal is to avoid raising suspicions. Find him and bring him back as best you can. Watch for hints as to who else might have done this." She called Shizune in, and the group of Anbu bowed their heads respectfully before disappearing without a word. Tsunade. Sama, what is it? Shizune set the folders on the desk that she was holding. Come here, Kiba from the Inuzuka clan. Shizune nodded and walked away, saying, I have a job for him and Akamaru. Kiba showed up 20 minutes later, with Akamaru outside because he was too large to fit inside the office. How am I able to assist Hokage? Sama, he complied with Tsunade's motion to sit. You seem to know Naruto's scent quite well, I noticed the other night. Was I right? This is top secret, Kiba said, nodding. Since Naruto is missing, we believe foul play is involved. Kiba took a long, hard sniff and said, I want you to see if you can track his scent. I can, but it's faint. Tsunade handed him a headset and said, we can get right on it. Shizune can be found on channel 13. Although I also have Anbu on this, I thought you might be quicker. Kiba put it on after setting it to the appropriate channel. If you find anything, get in touch with her, and she'll get in touch with me. We'll do Hokage. Sama. Kin brought Kushina out of her reverie and said, Kushina. Sama. Kin and Kanaka, along with the rest of the Bear Clan, had a sneaky suspicion that this new sibling of Naruto, Sama's, is up to no good. Our suspicion is only strengthened by this. She's not here, have you noticed? We've searched the entire house, Kushina said, glancing around to see Kana was gone. Kana left early this morning after arriving home late last night. It appeared as though she was rushing. It's difficult for me to accept that she would hurt Hinata. However, that would account for the attacker's reluctance to harm Naruto. She is afraid of losing her family. However, you've always been correct. Look for evidence in her room. With solemn expressions on their faces, Kanaka and Kin went upstairs to Kana's room and returned 30 minutes later. We've located this. Kin opened the journal to a particular entry, and Kushina read it. Look at this journal entry. I tried to kill Hinata, but my brother got in the way, so I hurt my own brother, which I wanted to avoid from the beginning. Perhaps my grandmother wasn't insane. Perhaps her visions were what motivated her, just like mine are now. I only know that if he marries that girl, it could mean good or bad for the future, but I don't want to take the chance. The two are too much in love to get them to break up, so I'd rather avoid this than do it. Another plan I have is to move Naruto out of the way, which should worry Hinata. When she joins the search, I will take care of her and get her alone, ensuring Naruto's safety and the success of my mission. Kushina let the journal drop to the ground in disbelief, not even reading the remainder of the entry. Are you certain this is Kana's? Bring this to the Hokage and perform a more comprehensive search of her room, Kin said, nodding and pointing to the front page, which featured her name in her handwriting, something Kushina was now accustomed to from when they had officially acknowledged her as a clan member. She might also have clan members working with her. I want your own people as well as everyone else checked out. Let the Hokage know that it is only right that an outsider conduct the investigation. After saying, Saya, I'll be right back, Kushina went upstairs to the second floor bedroom. She dug through her closet and found an outfit she never imagined wearing again. It was her 18-year-old shinobi outfit. She wore it. The whole thing still fits. Her original shoes, black gloves, midriff tight versus neck vest, and tight black shorts are all in nearly perfect shape. She left some of her bangs out and pulled her hair back loosely. She inhaled deeply before descending the stairs once more and grabbing her shinobi equipment that was hanging by her door. When Saya saw what Kushina was wearing, she gasped. Kushina raised a hand to silence them all, saying, Kushina. Sama. That outfit. Saya remained silent as Kushina ran out of the house. I know how long it's been since I wore this outfit, but it's time I get serious. I'm following Hinata, Shiro, and Kairo. Kana will appear to try and kill Hinata. I'm going to knock some sense into that girl. Saya inhaled deeply and said, it's been so long. She hasn't worn that outfit since Minato, Sama, died. The other servants shot into action, saying, we just have to have faith. If Kushina is going out there to fight like this, she won't fail us. We'll prepare for Naruto. Sama's return. Come on, get moving. Saya looked at the Bear Clan's remaining members. I would like all of you to go on patrol. Just in case. I know I may not be in charge, but I won't let this place fall into chaos. The Bear Clan nodded and walked away. Saya nodded and allowed Shinobu to pursue them, saying, Saya, I'll be joining the patrol here. We have enough shinobi in the town. She made contact with Kanaka in her mind. Would you kindly keep an eye out for Shinobu? Sama. Kanaka. I don't want her to suffer any harm. Yes, Kuro, I will. Calm down. Kin replied. Saya exhaled a sigh of comfort. After jumping over the trees, Kushina saw Hinata and Shiro and Kairo, her bodyguards. It took them a moment to realize it was her when she leapt down next to them. I have a feeling Kana will come after you. If she does, I'll take her and you continue to search for Naruto. Shiro and Kairo moved closer together to give Kushina space to jog next to them, saying, "Understood Kushina. Sama. We'll leave Kana to you. Any news of Naruto, Sama yet? But we're not giving up. The Hokage has both Anbu members of the Inuzuka clan on it. We'll find him. Any signs of Kana yet?" Kushina shook her head no. Hinata shook her head no. "I have my Byakugan activated and I regularly scan the area around me. I'm trying to find Naruto and keep an eye out for Kana as well. For a while we thought you were her." She examined the region she was in. Everyone timed it behind some cover and cautiously poked their heads around, looking around. "Everyone, take cover," they said. Kana moved about, looking around. Kana, wearing a simple dress with leggings underneath, said, "Come on out Hinata. I don't have anything against you. This is for the good of the future." The slight breeze hardly stirred her hair. Everyone was able to understand Kushina's hand signals. In order to give them time to leave and continue looking for Naruto, she would go out and challenge Kana. Kushina raised 3 fingers in the air. One at a time, she set one down, then another, and then the third. Out came the 4 shinobi. When Kana attempted to follow Hinata, her stepmother blocked her. Kana pulled out 2 kunai and held them out in readiness for battle, saying, "No go. Why are you doing this, Kana? We welcomed you into our home and accepted you as a member of our family. This seems like a poor way to repay us. That's rich. A civilian using shinobi tools. I do this for the future, as I've said before. You didn't see what I saw. Now move or I'll make you get out of my way," Kana said. Kana's expression changed from one of shock to anger as she said, "That was only one of the possible futures you saw. You said it yourself in your journal. This did not even pose a threat to Kushina. What gave you the right to read that?" Kushina pinned Kana against a nearby tree after tripping her. Her weapons dropped to the floor. "When you first tried to kill Hinata, and after that, when you kidnapped your own brother. That's what gave us the right. You threaten your own family." Kana fought. However, she had no chance against Kushina. "How did you do it? Also, where is he?" Kushina hated herself for what she was going to do. "I'll only talk when that girl is dead. As for kidnapping him, child's play. He was hot and I got him a drink. It had a slow-acting sleep aid in it. He never suspected a thing." Nevertheless, she ignored those emotions and went ahead. She gave her stepdaughter a gut punch. Kana went limp. Kushina began walking toward the Hokage tower after throwing the unconscious girl over her shoulder. She intended to leave her with the Hokage and reunite with Hinata later. When she arrived at the tower, she passed through it without stopping to speak to the guards. Kushina marched directly to Tsunade's office at the top, ignoring the person who was following her. Tsunade looked up from her desk as she rushed in. She saw Kushina's burden and lost whatever she was going to say. Tsunade summoned a few Anbu members and asked, "What do you want me to do with her?" The 2 Anbu, one wearing a dog mask and the other a crow mask, nodded and disappeared with Kana. "We'll take care of her. You two, make sure she's restrained somewhere. Now what are you going to do?" Tsunade halted her and said into her headset, "I'm going to join the search with Hinata." If Kushina was surprised to learn that she had included outside shinobi in the search, she didn't show it. "Kiba, how is the search going?" Kiba reportedly responded. "Good. Stay where are you? Kushina Uzumaki will be joining you shortly." "Kiba?" inquired Kushina. "Of the Inuzuka clan. Kiba and Akamaru are really familiar with Naruto's scent. I asked those 2 to help out the search. He's in the woods right now. Do you know anything about his condition?" Kushina gave a nod. Tsunade discovered a water bottle and some powder on her desk and gave them to Kushina, saying, "He's been given a sleep aid. That's how Kana got him, offering him a drink when he was hot." Kushina took it and leapt out of the window, saying, "These will wake him up. Just mix the powder in the drink when you find him. Kiba is sure he's almost there. Don't doubt his nose." She fell to the ground and started walking into the forest. Since she had never seen the 2, she was unsure of how she would identify them. However, that wasn't an issue. A large white dog with a rider on it caught her attention. She was certain that these 2 were the ones she was seeking. The 2 nodded and asked, "Are you 2 Kiba and Akamaru?" Kushina approached the trees, seeing no way around them, and said, "Nice to meet you, Ms. Kushina. I'm pretty sure your son is behind this pile of collapsed trees. But I'm not strong enough to move them." Her muscles protruded as she made a few brief hand gestures. She grunted, pushed them all to one side, and then wiped her hands off as her muscles relaxed. Since it was now night, Kiba gave her a flashlight. After turning it on, Kushina surveyed the clearing. Kiba pointed to a corner of the clearing and asked, "There, do you see?" Naruto was tied to a nearby tree while unconscious, and his equipment dangled from a tall tree branch. Akamaru growled, "That doesn't look like a natural sleep." Kushina went to her son and mixed the drink with water, saying, "What? Whoever did this gave him a powerful sleep aid. He always was easy to kidnap." She tipped some of it down his mouth while keeping it open. A minute went by. After a brief period of coughing, Naruto opened his eyes. Pulling out a kunai, Kushina released her son and asked, "Mom? Where am I?" He stood up and massaged his wrists to restore blood flow. He put his equipment back on and asked, "What happened that ended up with me here?" It was Kana. Kana was also the one who tried to kill Hinata. "I'm not sure what the situation is, but it's being investigated. Let's go home. Hinata should be back by now. She's really worried." Kiba offered to take Naruto and Kushina. Kushina declined, but Naruto agreed. "I'm going to make sure she's still not out searching. I'll come home in a little bit." After dropping Naruto off, Kiba went home. When he entered, Saya and Shinobu's embrace nearly pushed him against the house's wall. All the people in the room nodded when I said, "I'm fine, guys. Kana is under suspicion at the moment, as I'm sure you know." Kairo, Shiro, and Hinata were absent. 1 minute later, they entered, followed by Kushina. Hinata rushed over to him. Hinata appeared embarrassed as she said, "Again, you were hurt while someone tried to get to me." Her right side, which is the most ticklish part of her body, was tickled by Naruto as he wrapped an arm around her back. She couldn't contain her laughter. "Don't worry. The person responsible is caught. It's not your fault. It was Kana all along." Hinata appeared startled. "We'll just have to wait and see for the results. Are you okay?" Hinata gave her fiancé a worried glance and said, "I'm fine. What about you?" Hinata nodded in relief, saying, "I'm just a little sleepy from whatever Kana put in my drink. A little rest and I'll be fine." Though he nodded, Naruto stammered, "I have to get home now. I'll see you soon, Naruto, Sama." Hinata merely chuckled lightly as she closed the door behind her. Hey. Wait, since when I was Naruto? Sama to you?" she asked. To accompany her home, Shiro and Kairo had also departed. Shizune laid a rather small stack of papers on her superior's desk and said, "Tsunade. Sama, here are the documents you requested. We didn't find much." She had been asked to learn more about this prophet who had brought about the prophecy that Kana had attempted to avert. At the moment, 2 Anbu were watching Kana. "We also finished the investigation Kushina Uzumaki requested. No other traitors were found within the family or their servants." Tsunade gave a nod. Shizune bowed and walked out of the room, saying, "Thank you, Shizune." Tsunade flipped through the papers that were handed to her. Yes, not much had been discovered. It contained the prophecy's original words as well as details about the original prophet, Tanako, who was a ninja monk from the Ken Monastery. Shizune was called back in. Shizune bowed once more before departing, saying, "I want Naruto and Hinata in here later. Tell them it's for a special mission." Heishi Hyuga offered his daughter and future son Law some tea and said, "I'm glad you two came. How would you like some special training? If you two accept, Hinata will be doing some beneficial training with Neji. As for you, Naruto, Sama, I'll be doing yours. I found an interesting jutsu you might want to learn. It's a wind jutsu, but also a summoning jutsu." Naruto was pleased by this opportunity. "I take it that's a yes." Neji led Hinata to one of the training courtyards, while Heishi led Naruto to another. "That would be awesome, Heishi. Sama. Thank you." Naruto was struggling to maintain his composure. He was going to learn a new jutsu, which was a summoning jutsu, another summoning jutsu, and a wind nature jutsu. He wanted to yell a battle cry and toss his fist into the air. However, he refrained from doing so in front of Heishi. Naruto nodded, removing his knuckle blades from his legs and placing them on the porch close by with his other weapons. "But before I bring out the scroll, I'd like to spare with you. The only thing I don't want you using is weapons. Everything else you can use." Heishi had high hopes for him. "This is a friendly match. But by all means use the jutsus you already know." One of the few who had ever defeated Neji in a match was this one. Heishi activated his Byakugan to begin the match. He charged Naruto with the intention of striking him using a soft fist fight. Avoiding each blow, Naruto wrapped his chakra around his fists. In the case of his Shuniji, Naruto was unsure of what constituted a weapon. Heishi hadn't brought that up. However, Naruto was aware that a Rasengan enhanced by Shuniji was not a weapon in the sense that Heishi had been referring to. He had no intention of using that in a necessary manner. "Don't hold back, Naruto. I won't be holding back." Heishi screamed while continuing to use his fist. Naruto was excellent at fending off this style. Given that Hinata shared his fighting style, he most likely spared him a lot. Naruto expended all of his extra energy as they continued their spar for 20 more minutes. While avoiding many blows, Naruto managed to land 1 or 2 blows on Heishi, including one that came from abruptly entering Hiashi's blind spot. Enough. Heishi entered and took out the scroll containing the jutsu. Like the one Jiraiya had Naruto sign with his own blood, it was a big one. Naruto unrolled it and discovered that only 2 people had mastered the technique. This scroll contains a special summoning jutsu. Ninpo. Meshike's Animaru. It summons wind animals. Only people with wind-natured chakra can learn this technique. There are other versions of this technique as well, for the other chakra types. Naruto was aware of what to do. He used his own blood to sign the scroll after cutting his index finger. He said the 3 animals he wished to be able to call forth while making the required hand signals in accordance with the instructions on the scroll. 3 animals materialized around him as the wind whirled around him. Kitsune, fox. Gamma, toad. Taka, hawk. A hawk, a toad, and a fox. With an echoey voice, the fox asked, "Who summons us?" This was repeated by the hawk and toad. If they had a gender, only the hawk had a female sound. The hawk circled Naruto, assessing him, and said, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." The hawk landed on Naruto's shoulder and said, "This one has potential." The fox approached him nonchalantly and sniffed at him. "I see you have my ancestor in your body." Long ago, the 9-tailed fox was a peaceful creature. All the wind foxes are his descendants. The fox was quiet for a moment. "I approve of you as well." The toad's turn came next. "You have a pact with one of my kin. Gamabunta and I share the same ancestor. If he approves of you, so do I." The 3 animals paused to think about Naruto's question before answering, "So do you have names?" Once more, the fox spoke. The animals transformed back into wind, leaving 2 people in the courtyard in a state of confusion. "I am Nero, red, my friend on your shoulder is furry. Damo, freedom. And the toad is Jutu. Jump. Whenever you summon us again, you may choose who you want to summon. Because we are wind, we can become invisible and all may travel through the air in one way or another. Now we must go." With a dry observation, Heishi Hyuga said, "That was interesting." Hiashi's gaze was fixed on the sun. "It's almost noon. Would you like some lunch with us?" Shizune made a visit to the Hyuga mansion during lunch. "Sorry to interrupt the meal, Heishi. Sama, but Tsunade. Sama needs to see Hinata and Naruto. It's a mission." Both of them rose. Naruto gave Heishi a bow. Hinata and Naruto departed with Shizune and accompanied her to Tsunade's office, saying, "Thank you for the meal, Heishi. Sama. And the training." Shizune went out. As they walked in, Tsunade raised her head. Naruto and Hinata exchanged glances, unwilling to accept that they would be going on a mission together. "Good. You 2 are to go to a mission. The reason Kana tried to kill Hinata is a prophecy made by a ninja monk named Tanako. We have located his original temple. His prophecies are still there. This is a research mission. However, watch out. You never know what to expect." "Good. Tanako's temple is in the large village of Shinshu. It is still standing and serves as the head temple. They're expecting people from Konoha soon." Hinata was particularly perplexed, asking, "Is someone else going with this Tsunade?" "Sama? It's unusual. This would never be tolerated by her father." "No, you 2 are to go alone. We trust you 2 to be alone and to come back in the same condition you left." "Naruto, I was told to warn you to not do anything improper to Hinata." Naruto gasped. Tsunade. "Chan, Hinata is not a prize to be won. We will conduct ourselves as shinobi of Konoha on this mission, not 2 love-struck young adults. Her honor will remain with her." Tsunade nodded in agreement with his reply. "When do you want us to leave?" "Tomorrow. You're dismissed." The following morning, Jiraiya stopped Hinata and Naruto just as they were ready to depart. He gave Naruto a bag. Naruto looked in the bag and became very red. "I heard you were going on a boring research mission. If you get bored, read these. It'll give you pointers for your honeymoon." Naruto moved to return the bag, saying, "Jiraiya. Sensei. How could you? I'm engaged now. If I was still single, I would love these. But I'm not. It was pushed back at the blonde Chunin by Jiraiya. Drop the sensei. When you got promoted to Chunin, we became equals, no longer student and teacher, not that you could ever become as awesome as me. But you are an adult now. You can handle these. Right, lover boy? Jiraiya laughed out loud. Naruto grabbed Hinata's hand and stuffed the books into his bag. Hinata looked very perplexed at his response. Hinata, I promise you I will never read the books he gave me, I promise. Naruto fidgeted and asked, what kind of books are they, Naruto? Jiraiya is, as you know, a member of the Sannin. He's also a pervert who writes dirty adult novels. That's what he gave me. A full set of the books he's written so far. I will never read them though. I know you won't approve of them. Hinata gave him a kiss on the cheek. When Jiraiya heard Hinata say, come on Naruto, let's go, he was spit out on the roof. Naruto smiled foolishly as the girl dragged him to the gate. This was deliberate on his part. He had been inspired by their romance. He was writing a book at the time. A book about a poor orphan who falls in love with his nation's princess despite not knowing his ancestry. These two served as the models for the two main characters. After defeating a roguish character who was determined to take the princess away, he was going to abruptly discover at the end of the book that he was a prince. Additionally, this was a fantastic opportunity for research. She held the piece of paper with the monastery's directions and said, Naruto, admit it. We're lost. Naruto had to concede that she was right when she said, according to them, we never should have left the road. We're in the forest area now. For directions, however, there was nowhere to go. However, perhaps. He cut himself and made the appropriate hand signals, hoping that a particular friend would pick up the phone. Wait. I may have a solution. They heard his prayers. Furry. Damo appeared in front of him as the wind whirled around him. Furry. Damo flew into the air and said, you call me because you're lost? Excellent. I'll find the way to your destination. Evidently seeking an explanation, Hinata turned to face her fiancé. That's Furry. Damo. I can summon wind foxes, toads, or hawks thanks to the jutsu your father taught me. He probably knew we were lost because the wind is everywhere. Naruto laughed. With a loud whoosh of wind, Furry. Damo made his reappearance. Furry. Damo landed in the trees when Naruto extended his arm for him to land on. Get a hawking bracer first. It took great restraint not to cut off the arm last time. My talons are razor sharp and can cut limbs off in an instant. I have found the monastery you seek. Follow me. Furry. Damo rose and started leading the way. Naruto and Hinata could hardly keep up. Naruto smiled in response to Hinata's remark, friendly. Quite a character we have here. When they arrived at the temple, Furry. Damo left them. A monk stood by the door, anxious. He approached them with relief as they got closer. The monk failed to notice Naruto's briefly dejected expression. My name is Taruho. I'm glad to see you arrive safely. Quarters have been prepared for you. We will help you find what you seek tomorrow. He had another person named Taruho in mind. He considered a close friend to be a brother. However, Taruho had passed away. He had lost his life defending the demon country priestess Shion, his friend. The next morning, Taruho roused the two Konoha shinobi. The two shinobi trailed the monk to the dining area and said, breakfast is this way. Please follow me. Hinata and Naruto accepted the modest meal of oatmeal and orange juice, saying, it's probably not what you're used to. We lead a very different kind of life here. Naturally, Naruto wanted ramen, his go-to breakfast when he could manage it. But these days, his family hardly ever lets him do that. Additionally, he needed to start adopting better lifestyle habits so that he could set a good example for any children he and Hinata might have. Hinata gathered their dirty dishes and said, Taruho, we're done over here. Could you please lead us to your library? They were carried to the kitchen by someone, most likely an acolyte monk, so they could be cleaned before the next meal. They followed Taruho all the way to the opposite side of the building, saying, of course. Please follow me. He led them into a huge room after opening a door. Taruho left the two ninja alone and said, if you need any help, the senior bookkeeper Ranma should be around here somewhere. They were in a room with a lot of bookcases. Wooden tables filled the few spaces that weren't shelves. The fact that books and scrolls filled the majority of the shelves only frightened Naruto more. Never in his life had he seen so much reading material. Too overwhelmed by all the information in the room, Hinata managed a nod. Hinata. I think we'll need to find this Ranma fellow and ask where information about Tanako is. But rather than being afraid, she was eager to discover everything that this enormous library of books and scrolls had to offer. Still in awe of the room's abundance of books and scrolls, Hinata caught up to Naruto and said, "Come on. We're still on a mission." After wandering around the library, they came across an old man with graying hair. On the ridge of his nose rested a tiny pair of glasses. Ranma pointed to a table close to the middle of the room and said, "Ah, the two Konoha shinobi. I am Ranma, senior bookkeeper. I have put together all the information that we have here on Tanako in anticipation of your arrival." Books and ancient scrolls were heaped upon it. "Please be careful with them though. Some of them are quite old." "We will. Thank you for doing that." Naruto and Hinata sat down at the table after Hinata pulled him there. Paper and writing supplies were available, and 2 work areas had been cleared. Naruto carefully unrolled an ancient scroll and said, "Let's get started." "What exactly are we looking for?" Naruto asked, holding a map that seemed to show both his birthplace and the temple where he had trained to become a ninja monk. It also displayed a log of his journey until his passing. "Should we just write down anything of interest about this Tanako guy?" Hinata picked up one of the scrolls and began reading, saying, "Sometimes you amaze me, Naruto. A lot of people don't think you use your head outside of battle, but that's not true. I've known this all along. But still, I now have solid proof. Let's get started." Naruto couldn't tell if he had just received a compliment or an insult. He didn't really care, though. Hinata was grinning. And that smile was something he cherished. He wouldn't have noticed that smile 3 years ago. He didn't even know she was feeling anything 3 years ago. He began reading the mountain of scrolls that Ranma had assembled in front of them after saying, "Okay, let's get this over with." They had only covered 25% of the content after 5 hours. In fact, Naruto had taken excellent notes that were comprehensive and concise. However, he was beginning to exhaust himself. Only recently had he developed the ability to think. It had all been about power in his previous shinobi career. With the support of his family, he had now learned to make good use of the power he possessed. However, it was also close to lunchtime. When Hinata realized this, she decided it was time to take a break. "Hey, Naruto. Let's go grab some lunch and compare notes after. We're going to be here for a few days anyway, we have time." Naruto was mentally cheering. He found himself tempted to read the books Jiraiya had given him at this point. However, if Hinata had his way, he would never discover this. As the two departed from the work at the table, Ranma grinned from his corner. Because of the angle of a nearby bookshelf, the two were unable to see him at his desk. But he had a clear view of them. The two got along well. Ranma was certain that Naruto would have lost his temper by now if he had been working with anyone else. Then Taruho emerged from his hiding place and said, "Those two work well together, don't they, Taruho?" He had been watching the pair from afar. Ranma had been aware of his location the entire time and had not been duped by this. Taruho, however, was powerless to stop. In general, monks did not fall in love, so he was interested in love and such feelings. Ranma simply grinned more broadly and said, "I should hope. They're to be married soon. I wonder what fate holds in store for them." Naruto and Hinata ate some rice soup and then went back to the library. However, they conversed in silence rather than going back to reading and taking notes. So Tanako lived about 210 years ago. The prophecy that Kana thought we would make happen was made shortly before his death, having died during a mission 2 weeks after he made it. He was a fair and generous man. But he also was a high-ranking monk of the Ken style due to his gift of prophecy. Hinata wrapped up her notes. But that was not the only prophecy he made. He made hundreds of them, some of them coming true, some not. He said it himself. The gift of prophecy is not always reliable. What did you get from all of this? Naruto glanced at the books and scrolls he had perused. He took up a well-preserved book and said, "I got everything you just said, but I also got his autobiography." Hinata shook her head at Naruto's moniker for the 5th Hokage, saying, "I took a lot of notes about his life. Tsunade.ba. Chan didn't tell us what she wanted us to find, so I'm trying to cover all of the bases." Naruto moaned in response to Hinata's statement, "We need to hit the books again now. The next break will be at dinner time." Nevertheless, he continued working. There was still a task he needed to complete. And if both did their fair share of the work, it would pass more quickly. They had read more than half of the material by the time dinner time arrived. Both of them took numerous notes, some of which were written very haphazardly, and placed the books and scrolls they had finished reading on a different table. Before responding, Hinata completed the scroll she was working on. "What do you say we call it a day, Hinata?" They arranged their workspace and notes and said, "Sounds good." Taruho and Ranma arrived. As Taruho started to pick up what they had already read, Ranma said, "Would you two like us to organize your notes for you so you can have a good copy to give to your Hokage?" and we're going to leave these out until they leave, so don't pick them up. She combined their notes and gave them to Ranma, who they now realized used a walking stick, saying, "If you don't mind." Ranma gave them to Taruho, who was instructed to organize them alongside the other acolytes. After taking them, Taruho left and joined a group of people, some of whom were younger than him. "We are here to help. Taruho is the oldest student who works in this library. In a few years, it'll be the usual time for me to retire from this library. I'll be leaving it in his hands. He's a very capable young man." "Why do you look sad, Naruto?" Ranma was perplexed. When they had first met Taruho upon their arrival, Hinata had noticed his abruptly dejected expression. However, she had neglected to inquire why. "It's nothing. A while back on a mission, I met someone named Taruho. We became friends. But he died on that mission, protecting my other friend Shien." Hinata brought Naruto up. Returning to his desk, Ranma walked. "Come on, Naruto. We'll eat dinner and work off some of this tension after by sparring in the training area." As Naruto and Hinata sparred, a large number of monks watched from the training area. Both had removed all of their weapons and other ninja equipment. They were only utilizing their jutsus. Neither of the two young shinobi was holding back. Once they were underway, Ranma joined them. One of the monks observing said to the elderly bookkeeper, "Ranma, it's unusual to see you leave the library. Did you come to watch these two spar?" The other monk shook his head in confusion and said, "Yes, I did. Did those two get in a fight or something?" Ranma gestured to Hinata and Naruto and asked, "Why do you ask that?" Many of the monks were unaware that the two were engaged, so they said, "Those two are engaged. I was wondering what would cause these two to suddenly fight like this." Given how seriously they were sparring, they actually questioned whether it was true. Those two just wanted to spar. Apparently they do it all the time. I've heard about some of Naruto's techniques. I really hope he doesn't use some of them in this room. They almost always cause physical damage to the area he's fighting in when he uses them. Many of the monks had heard of Naruto. His tale had spread among the ninja monk monasteries and other ninja villages. At that moment, the match ended in a stalemate. The other had trapped them both and there was nothing they could do. Hinata's face was half an inch from Naruto's fist. However, one hand prevented his fist from making contact with her face, while the other was ready to launch him with her delicate fist technique. Grinning, the two stepped away from one another. Those who had come to observe were in awe. They hadn't witnessed a spar this good in a long time. Furthermore, they returned to friends, or, in their case, an engaged couple, with ease. Naruto and Hinata continued reading the materials that Ranma and his students had assembled the following day. After creating a beautiful copy of the note from the previous day, the acolyte apprentices offered to do the same with the notes from today. Naruto was extremely pleased when they finished the remaining materials by dinner time. Since they intended to depart the following day, they handed in their notes to Ranma's students and turned them in early. By then, Ranma's students pledged to finish their notes. The following day, Taruho roused them both once more, and they hurriedly packed, Naruto taking care to conceal the filthy novels Jiraiya had given him from the monks because he was certain they would not approve of them. They then started traveling after breakfast. After bidding farewell to the monks who had been caring for them for the previous 2 days, Hinata made sure to say, "Naruto, no shortcuts. We're following the directions." In response to his fiancée, Naruto gave him an idiotic smile and said, "Sure thing, Hinata. No shortcuts." They returned swiftly to Konoha. Nobody opposed them or attempted to prevent them from reaching Konoha. They reported to the Hokage after entering Konoha's gates. Hinata gave Tsunade the lovely copy of the notes after Shizune opened the door for them. Tsunade looked at them and asked, "Did you encounter any problems during the mission?" When Tsunade heard Naruto's nickname for her again, she felt tempted to punch him through a wall. "None, Tsunade.Ba-chan. You're dismissed." Naruto and Hinata bowed respectfully and walked away. Good work on this mission." She took his hand and walked at his pace, saying, "Hinata, I'll walk you home." He dropped her off at the gates, where her father greeted her. "I see your mission went well. Your wedding kimono is almost ready, but the seamstress would like to take some final measurements before she finally finishes it. Soon we need to meet up Naruto and his family as to plan the details of the wedding." Hinata's pulse quickened. Heishi accepted his daughter's plan, saying, "I understand. Perhaps soon we should invite them over for some tea." Horyu had spent more than 2 years in the shinobi prison. She followed instructions every single day. She had lost her mind and spirit. Alongside her master, Shinku Tabanasu, they were in the insane asylum. Nothing had changed about him. His chakra was severed, and he was still mentally absent and being closely watched. She had initially had a terrible experience here. However, she had adapted. She gradually recovered by listening to the rumors of Konoha that made their way to the prison. She became enraged after hearing a rumor one evening while waiting in line for dinner. She heard what the two prisoners were saying. Yeah, it's true. The Kyuubi brat is going to get married soon. To Hinata Hyuga. The Kyuubi brat's half-sister tried to kill the fiancé because of some prophecy apparently. The first prisoner nodded and asked, wasn't her name Kana or something? I heard Kana's under supervision of two Anbu for it. They're both fine though. The Kyuubi took the hit meant for the Hyuga girl. Horyu Hanon became irate. While she was wasting away in this shinobi prison and her master was becoming even more insane in the insane asylum, what right did the Kyuubi have to be happy? When Horyu heard the cook shout, move along, she snapped out of her reverie. Horyu, still fuming, grabbed her food, walked away, and sat down at her usual table. Shut up already. I'm moving. She needed to leave this place. This injustice had to be fixed by Horyu. She would, too. The inmates were urged to return to their jobs. Horyu complied with the other inmates and didn't cause any trouble when they were led to their overnight cells. Horyu acted like she was asleep. After making it appear as though she was still asleep on her bed, she got up at around midnight and hid in the shadows of her door. At night, Anbu patrolled the hallways, occasionally tapping on the bars of the cell doors. She tripped a lone Anbu that night when he passed near her cell door. She reached through the bars, caught his head with one hand, and moved the other over his mouth just before he screamed or hit the floor. Shish. She found the keys to her cell and rendered the man unconscious. She silently unlocked the door and slipped out, snatching up the ANBU's shinobi equipment. Some of the inmates pleaded with her to release them, saying, hey, take us with you. Come on. Don't you have a heart? The inmates became irate and said, sorry, I'm on a mission. I don't need dead weight. They shouted at the top of their lungs, prisoner escape. The Anbu members in the area rushed to look into the disturbance, as was to be expected. They saw their unconscious comrade on the floor and her emerge from her cell. A loud siren sounded throughout the prison complex as one person pressed the alarm. The others pursued. Crap. Horyu sprinted, slapping the concrete floor noisily with bare feet. The remainder of the hallway was a dead end as she skidded around the corner, seeing only a glass window in front of her. Horyu braced herself for the crash that was coming. The second floor was where she was. She hardly made it through the window as she leapt through it, leaving no space in her mind for doubt. She ended up on her feet after rolling into the fall. As the spotlights came on, Anbu rushed out of the building. Through their small windows, many of the inmates were trying to see who was attempting to break out. Anbu overtook her and encircled her. She just knocked them out and left them alone. She was able to escape before the gates slammed shut thanks to a sudden burst of speed brought on by taijutsu. She had freedom. She must now proceed with her mission. Rumors were circulating in Konoha. A prisoner had broken out of the shinobi prison last night. Not just a prisoner, but a prisoner with higher security. Numerous Anbu were rendered unconscious. A series of robberies had occurred in several of the stores shortly after this. The stores that sell clothing, weapons, food, and general goods. Basically, everything needed for a shinobi prisoner on the run. Since the breakout, Anbu has conducted a thorough search of the entire village. Even with the assistance of many of the regular shinobi and half of the current Anbu members, she had not been seen. As she and her father were on their way to the Namikaze home to talk with Kushina and Naruto about their wedding arrangements, Hinata received the news. Hinata began to exhibit only mild panic upon learning of Horyu Hanwon's escape. Heishi took note of this. Hinata, does this escaped prisoner have anything to do with you or Naruto? Hinata gave a nod. Horyu was the apprentice of Shinku Tabanasu, former leader of Satsukiyama. She had a part in trying to get the 9 tails out of Naruto 2.5 years ago. Heishi did not say anything about this. But what could she want now? Her master is mentally gone, locked up in the insane asylum for both his and our goods. Hinata sighed. Maybe revenge. If you think about, maybe she heard Naruto and I are engaged, and she wouldn't think it's fair that we end up happy with her in prison for her crimes and her master in the insane asylum with his mind gone. Heishi mentally concurred that his daughter was correct. He had read the entire Satsukiyama incident report. This would fit in perfectly with her personality, particularly the part about her master. She had a deep affection for her master. We should warn Naruto and Kushina. With solemn expressions on their faces, the whole family gathered around the table. Shizune had just dropped in to deliver some very bad news to Naruto, the clan's leader, and his family. Horyu had broken out of jail. In addition, Kana disappeared this morning while the 2 Anbu guards were severely injured and unconscious. Shizune dismissed the matter, saying, "Thanks for telling us this, Shizune. We'll need to tell Hinata about this, along with her family." Shizune bowed and departed, opening to reveal Hinata and Heishi Hyuga at the door. "I'm glad I could help. After this, I'll be going by Hinata's place to warn her and the Hyuga family. Tsunade. Sama has asked you to be very careful. Well, I'll be going now." Shizune bowed to the two Hyugas and departed, saying, "I was just going to stop by your house. I'll come by later then." A worried looking Naruto, Kushina, and Shinobu were sitting in the kitchen talking quietly when Heishi and Hinata entered. They heard the two come in and looked up. Hinata was relieved when Naruto instantly became happier. After the news he had just received, Naruto was happy to see her again. He offered them a seat, and the two took it. "Hello Hinata. Did you need me for something?" he asked. They accepted the tea that Saya and Shiro offered them. Heishi joked, his clear eyes somehow amused at his daughter's stuttering, "We just came over to discuss some wedding plans. Unless you two don't want to be married anymore." Naruto shared their laughter. Putting his hands on his fiancé's shoulders, he stood up. Naruto took a seat beside her and said, "Calm down. I haven't changed my mind. You should lighten up." Hinata nodded, then said, "Let's start planning the wedding. We don't have any special land or anything on which to have the wedding at. We have a lot of money, thanks to Minato's will. But that's about all we can offer," Kushina replied. "No worries there. You're still a new clan. We have a special lot of land in Konoha that is perfect for weddings. It's where I married my wife. Hinata knows all about it." Naruto suddenly recalled a memory. He took out a report and gave it to him, saying, "While I'm thinking about it, Heishi. Sama, here's something you should know. Horyu escaped from prison. Also, this morning, Kana vanished as well. It looks like someone helped her escape. I'm thinking that there is a chance those two will team up. Horyu will probably come after us. Kana as well will most likely join her. It'll give her a better chance to get to you, having a strong partner." Horyu and Kana sat around a fire in the forest and said, "I know it's not the best of places, but it's better than prison." Nearby, a stream gurgled. Horyu offered food, which Kana accepted. Feeling a little cold in her prison attire, Kana nodded her gratitude. In one of the stores she had broken into, Horyu had discovered a tank top and a pair of capris. However, all she could find were ordinary sandals, which was preferable to having no shoes at all. Horyu handed the bag of clothes to Kana, who was able to find some better clothes as well, saying, "Doesn't matter. I'm out now so I can fulfill my mission." After finding some, Kana changed behind some trees. "But why did you help me? Surely you didn't do it out of goodwill." As Kana reappeared, dressed in a light green summer kimono, Horyu nodded. "Truth is we have a similar goal. You want to kill that Hyuga girl that the Naruto Uzumaki is to marry. I seek revenge. I don't want to kill him. Killing the Hyuga girl would be a lot worse than killing him." Kana thought about. Whatever the motivation, it didn't matter to her. It didn't matter how it happened as long as they were never permitted to get married, and having a strong ally never hurt. Horyu was thinking differently. Kill Naruto Uzumaki after killing Hinata and allowing the wound to heal. Additionally, he still harbored the nine-tailed fox. She couldn't open it, but he would still be free if she killed him. He would die with the monster. However, Kana was also easy to get rid of if she stood in the way of killing the Jinchuriki. Perhaps she could persuade the girl of the truth in some way. Kana looked up at Horyu and said, "Kana, you should know something." Kana narrowed her eyes dangerously and said, "Your brother has a horrible affliction. At birth, your own father, in order to get rid of a problem, sealed a monster's soul inside your brother's body. When he did this, he used your brother as a sacrifice, knowing what kind of life he would lead because this act also killed him. But the village still thinks of your father as a hero. What would you do to restructuring Konoha after this, to correct all of these injustices?" Horyu nodded, but Kana remained doubtful. "They used my brother as a sacrifice?" she asked. "He confined my brother to a horrible life and was praised for it. How despicable. Is there any way to free him from this fate?" Horyu raised both of his fingers. "Two ways. 1. A special unsealing jutsu. If we could rebuild Satsukiyama, it would be possible. 2. Kill him now. It would take time to rebuild Satsukiyama, maybe years. It would be easier to end his misery now." Kana maintained her silence. Horyu waited for her response with patience. "If I had to choose, from the trees," Horyu surveilled the Namikaze mansion. She had only one objective in mind during her hours here. She had to speak with her old comrade, Awai. However, she was still unable to locate Awai Masumune. By now, Aoi might have left the clan. She saw the redhead all of a sudden. Aoi wasn't dressed the same as she was during her Satsukiyama days. She was dressed in a tank top and capri pants. But her chest was covered by a Junin vest. The Junin vest was unique, though, because it featured her clan's emblem on the back. The Namikaze clan used a swirl mark as their emblem. Aoi glanced up at Horyu, who was sitting there watching them from above. Aoi went to the empty, dark spot by the garden after glancing there. Horyu received the phone call. In the shadows, the two met. Horyu went to give her old friend a hug. The hug was resisted by Aoi. "What do you want?" Horyu let out a sigh. "You haven't changed in that regard, always going straight to the point. Truth is, I need your help." Aoi didn't say anything. Horyu realized a kunai at her throat and said, "Don't you see that Satsukiyama was right all along? Naruto Uzumaki needs to be taken care of. The only way to free him now is his death." She pushed it away. "Shinku Sama was taking us along the correct path." "No, you're wrong. That cold, ruthless man used me, controlled me against my will using a jutsu. I'd much prefer Naruto Sama as my leader now. And soon he'll have a ruling lady at his side. They'll be a force for good in the future." Horyu tried to control her feelings. Aoi threw down some smoke pellets and said, "All right, then. I have no choice. I'll see to his death myself." Aoi heard her say one final thing as she fled. Aoi coughed hard and staggered out of the smoke, saying, "I'm sorry about this, Aoi. But I've no other choice. You're an enemy now." She continued to cough, and when she eventually caught a breath of fresh air, she collapsed to her knees. Her arm was touched by someone. When Aoi looked up, Naruto was kneeling beside her. Behind him stood Kushina. Aoi allowed her clan head to assist her in standing up, asking, "Aoi, are you okay? What happened here?" There was only a hint of concern on Naruto's face as he said, "Naruto Sama, it was Horyu. She has plans to see you dead." "Naruto Sama, shouldn't you be a bit more worried? Someone wants you dead." Naruto dismissed this. "And what's new about that? Even before I found my family and became the clan head, someone was often trying to see me dead. We'll be fine. I have strong allies who will help me survive." Aoi's blue eyes were filled with worry and shame. "Not you. The only reason you wanted me dead then was because Shinku Tabanasu had warped your mind. That wasn't you." That afternoon, Hinata, Shizune, and Tsunade were present. The suspicion that Horyu would get in touch with Aoi proved to be accurate, and the Hokage and her assistant had been closely monitoring the clan. Hinata was also present since she had heard that Horyu would be visiting. Horyu reappeared that afternoon as they were all having afternoon tea. They were enjoying tea in a traditional garden when she bombed it. Kana was observed flying through the trees and observing as the smoke from the bombs cleared, with many of the victims suffering only minor wounds. The bomb was aimed at Naruto, who sustained the most injuries. When Kana realized she had been spotted, she turned to run. Naruto yelled, "Wait, Kana," and Kana froze. "It was, monster," she exclaimed. Naruto lowered his gaze to his body. His burns were already getting better. Naruto extended a hand and said, "No, this is a natural ability, Kana. I'm a human. I swear to you. Please come back home." Kana firmly shook her head, saying, "You'll still be welcome here. No, you were once human. That demon inside you has taken over you. My brother is dead. You took over his body, filthy demon. You killed him just as you killed everyone so long ago when you first attacked this village. I can't believe that man who claimed to be his father is mine as well. I'll have nothing to do with him, that lying scoundrel. But know this, demon. I will see you dead." And soon, Kana began to cry. Suddenly, Horyu was at her side. Horyu seized the sobbing girl and applied the escape jutsu, saying, "Yes, he will be. Let me be the instrument of your retaliation. I'll see him dead, even if it kills me." They had vanished. Naruto looked at his relatives. Hinata grasped her fiancé's shaking hand and said, "From now on, until I say something else, Kana is now an enemy of this family. As is Horyu, needless to say." Hinata reassured Naruto, saying, "That was a wise decision, Naruto. I didn't want to say that, but I have no choice. This family is everything to me. I'll protect them. I'll protect them even if it kills me." As he and Shiro left his house, Naruto shaded his eyes. She was dressed normally, and the slight wind gently rustled the hem of her dress. They were heading to the grocery store to pick up some last-minute dinner supplies that Saya had left behind. They were now traveling together to assist her. At Shinobu's insistence, Shiro had gone, and Shinobi claimed that her brother was incredibly forgetful. And he had enjoyed her company rather than griping. He wanted to express his gratitude to Hinata for being there for him through everything, so he kept an eye out for a special surprise for her. In order to keep Hinata surprised, he brought this up to Shiro and asked her to keep the surprise idea a secret. Shiro pulled over by the side of the road and petted some stray kittens in need of a home, saying, "Naruto Sama, I have an idea. I've heard that Hinata Sama loves animals. How about this? Get a box. Poke some holes in the side and a small hole in each corner of the box top. Put 3 roses in each corner and stick one of these little guys in the box. And put a romantic note on the top explaining. And later today, or sometimes soon, plan a picnic. She loves the romantic side of you sometimes, though she most likely wants to see who you really are most of the time. It makes her feel loved and special, seeing you put so much effort into making her happy occasionally." Something about Shiro caught Naruto's attention. She was holding one of the kittens in her arms and holding it against her chest. The cat appeared just as content as Shiro. Shiro grinned broadly as she looked up at the leader of her clan, who said, "Great idea, Shiro. I'll pick one for Hinata. Would you like to take one home?" Shiro held the kitten she already had in her arms and said, "Go ahead." The kitten, now known as Kai-kun, meowed happily. "This one. I'll name him Kai-kun. It's perfect." Among the kittens still in the box, Naruto noticed one with emerald green eyes. He grabbed that one. It began to drizzle lightly. Suddenly, the kittens let out a pitiful meow. While an elderly woman hurried out to retrieve the other kittens and bring them back inside until the rain stopped, Naruto placed both of the kittens in his jacket to keep them dry. Shiro nodded as the elderly woman shouted, "Let's hurry with those groceries, Shiro." She was grateful that she had brought 2 of them home. After swiftly grabbing the groceries and paying for them, they hurried home to escape the rain. The kittens didn't like it, but they didn't mind. Since the 2 kittens most likely didn't like having nothing solid beneath them, Naruto held them up with one arm. Shiro extended her hands to one of the kittens, a pure white one, and said, "Thanks, Naruto Sama." The kitten quickly fell asleep, purring loudly, happy to be back in Shiro's arms. Naruto started working on the project right away and finished it swiftly. He knelt down on the floor and wrote a note. He jumped when Shinobu came over and took the pure black kitten he was holding and wrapped it around its neck with a lavender ribbon. She placed the kitten in the decorated box Naruto had discovered somewhere in the house and said, "Mom wants to see you. I'll deliver this little one to Hinata. Go on. Hinata will love you even more when she next sees you. She loves cats." Now, she made her brother jump up by kicking him in the shins while he was still kneeling. Rubbing his shins, Naruto said, "I'm going already. Relax, will ya?" Before leaving the room. Shinobu's kick was very powerful. The weather was clear as Shinobu made his way to the Hyuga Manor. By now the rain had stopped. In her box, the kitten let out a meow. The kitten was soothed by Shinobu. Only sticking a paw out of a hole was the kitten's only reaction to the statement, "Relax, girl. We're almost to your new home." Shinobu reinserted the paw gently. "Shush. You need to behave or Hinata will figure out the gift Naruto put together for her." It turned out that the door was answered by Hinata. She was taken aback when Shinobu appeared at the door. Shinobu extended the box to the Hyuga and asked, "Ah, Shinobu. How can I help you today?" She laughed as she read the note on top. The black kitten practically leapt into Hinata's arm as she opened it. Hinata had clearly just given the cat the name Kuroshira. "Ah. Leave it to Naruto to suddenly surprise me like this. Isn't that right, Kuroshira?" Kuroshira let out a meow. Shinobu laughed. Hinata chuckled with her future sister. In. "I'm pretty sure it was Shiro who came up with the idea. Naruto's not a very good romantic." "That's true. Naruto is really tense right now though. With this whole Kana working with Horyu problem. Family is very important to him since he had no family growing up. It's really hurting him to have had to declare her an enemy. Maybe you cheer him up. I know, go on a picnic together. Get him to talk about his past. It still burdens him. Talking about it will help him heal." Hinata grinned. Shinobu began to return to the Namikaze Manor, saying, "I know the perfect place for one. Could you please make sure he's ready to go tomorrow afternoon, please?" "Will do. See you tomorrow." Hinata got up early the following morning and packed the picnic supplies. She chose a blanket that was light yellow so they could sit on it. She prepared the meal herself, including some unique rice balls she had previously prepared for Naruto when they were both on a mission with Kiba as recently promoted genin. They were guaranteed to make him smile because they were shaped like his face. The remaining food had a typical shape, but it was lovingly prepared throughout. When she gave those rice balls to Kiba and Naruto at the time, Hinata recalled how agitated they had been. That memory made Hinata laugh uncontrollably. Heishi Hyuga observed his daughter preparing the picnic from the shadows. There had never been anything like this in clan history. His eldest daughter's happiness was his top priority. And now she was ecstatic. Hinata glanced at the wall clock abruptly. She washed her hands after finishing the meal preparation and exclaimed, "Oh no, I have to hurry. It's almost noon." She hurried to her room to change into fresh clothes after packing the food in a basket. While preparing the food and reflecting on the days before she and Naruto had met, she had forgotten the time. Since then, they had made great progress. Hinata ran out of the house and said, "Father, I'm going out. I'll be home soon. Have fun." Based on the tone of his voice and his smile, Hinata knew her father understood where she was heading. Once on the main road to Naruto's house, Hinata exited the gate and slowed to a walk, saying, "Oh, I will. See you soon." Now that Naruto had recognized her feelings for him, she was overjoyed. And to think that she practiced her confession to him while she believed he was unconscious, and that was the beginning of it all. That thought caused her to laugh once more. Abruptly, Hinata was at Naruto's front door. Shiro answered the door when she knocked. In her arms was a white kitten. "Hinata. Sama. Did you like the cat?" Hinata gave a nod. "Kuroshira is very happy, as this little one looks." Shiro gave a low chuckle. "Yes, Kai-kun is very happy. These two, as in Kai-kun and Kuroshira, are actually siblings. I'm really glad Naruto is going out with you today. He's trying to hide it, but he's really worried about the trouble concerning you. No. Who?" When he heard about this picnic, he cheered up considerably. "You two are a really good couple, a fated couple of destiny meant and made for each other. Hinata was able to identify you. No. Who? Horyu and Kana were there." Shiro attached a thumb to the living room window and said, "I'll try my best to cheer him up." "Where is he?" Naruto sat gazing into space through the window. Hinata approached him and caught his interest. Slowly, he turned around and saw her, grinning. "Hina." Hinata gave him a quick kiss on the lips. Now that Hinata was present, Naruto began to unwind. "What was that for?" "Not that I don't mind it." Naruto stood up and stretched, saying, "That's the thanks for Kuroshira. I love her." Ready to go. His clothes, which were surprisingly different from what he usually wore, were only slightly wrinkled. "In case you're wondering why I'm not wearing what I usually wear, I'll explain. Right now I'm not a shinobi. I'm relaxing. Would you like me to hold the basket?" Hinata gave the basket to Naruto. His remark made Hinata flush. "Whatever you made smells good. And to think I have years ahead of me to enjoy your cooking." Hinata led Naruto to a less crowded part of the village, saying, "Let's go. There's a really pretty area that my family owns. It's perfect for a picnic." They came to a secluded garden. The thick, tall wall surrounding it and the large gates gave Naruto the impression that it was private. Hinata's shirt rustled as she took a key out of her pocket. There he saw the necklace around her neck that he had given her. He grinned as she unlocked it with her back to him. After Hinata had finished unlocking it, she turned to face him. Naruto smiled slightly and said, "It's open. Hey, what are you smiling about?" He gently took her arm and ushered her inside, saying, "Oh, nothing. Let's go." Hinata gestured toward a tall tree in the middle of the garden and asked, "Where should we set it up?" A cherry blossom tree was in bloom. This tree blooms a lot longer than the other trees of its kinds. We don't know why. She spread the blanket out and unfolded it. "At least I believe she's dead. I've never seen her, she's never mentioned, nothing. This garden was a present to me when I was younger. My mom knew I loved this type of thing, so she arranged it all for me. But that was before she died a long time ago." Hinata started serving the food after the couple sat down, saying, "It sure is beautiful." She produced cups and plates and placed them in front of them. She then added a little of each to the plate. Naruto burst out laughing when she produced rice balls. They resembled his head, complete with whisker lines. Grinning, Hinata filled each cup with flavored juice. "I remember these. At the time I was quite quirked. I really am dense. It was a clear sign that you liked me a lot, though I honestly don't see what's so special about me." Hinata moved a plate and cup closer to him and grabbed the other one for herself. "There's a lot of things special about you. One of the biggest things is how you never give up. Even when it seems everyone hates you and will do anything to stop you, you never give up. It lets others know that if they try, they can achieve their dreams, just like you. You always give everyone, except those who attack you, a fair chance. You don't judge." Once they give you a chance, you almost always make everyone your friend. Hinata took a deep breath. You're a rare person. Obviously strong-willed, otherwise you would have been like everyone had they had your circumstances. You still stayed positive despite your circumstances. Naruto reached out her hand to stop her. He took several kunai out of his ninja equipment and said, wait. He threw them into a tree a distance away and said, I always have this with me. With Horyu and Kana out there, I'll never know. I need to be ready. But it's not them I'm worried about at the moment. Someone fell to the ground with a crash. Hinata caught a fleeting glimpse of white hair. Hinata recognized Jiraiya as a member of the Sannin. It seems that he also enjoyed referring to himself as the Toad Sage. Pushing himself to his knees, Jiraiya said, That's cruel, Naruto. Naruto gestured to the gate and said, I'm doing research right now. I don't care what you do at the moment. For all I care, you could go peep at the women at the hot springs and I won't stop you. But this is a private event, Arrow. Sennin. Naruto returned his kunai. Sorry about the damage to the tree, Hinata. Hinata joined Naruto at his side and said, Don't worry about it. I would like to know something though. Why are you spying on us? I already said it. Research. I'm writing a book. The two main characters are based off you guys and the storyline is based off your romance. Jiraiya raised her voice. He cleared his throat and said, Also, I'm to deliver a message. From Tsunade herself. Tsunade says this. When you two lovebirds are done with your picnic, I need to see Naruto. I'll be relaxing at his place, drinking with Kushina, until late this evening. Jiraiya surrendered, saying, Message delivered. Now can you please leave? Yes, I will. But give me a chance to interview you two later. I want to make your characters accurate. Hinata laughed softly. Jiraiya made a note. You're becoming a fine woman, Hinata. Naruto's lucky to have you. The glint in Jiraiya's eye annoyed Naruto. Jiraiya began to bolt for the hills, easily vaulting over the high garden wall. Arrow. Sennin. Get out of here now, you pervy sage. If I find out you're bothering my fiancé, you'll be sorry. Do you hear me? Out, now? Hinata calmed her fiancé down. Relax. You'll die because of stress at this rate, and at a young age too. And if you do that, you'll never become the Hokage. That is your dream, isn't it? Naruto was powerless to prevent this. The two returned to the blanket and said, Only for you. Let's eat before the food gets cold. When Hinata had formed rice balls in the shape of Naruto's face, he was initially annoyed at eating himself, but now he was less so. Following a pleasant 2 hours of conversation, they packed up and returned to his house for dinner. Tonight, Hinata would dine there. Tsunade was at his house, just as Jiraiya had mentioned. Telling Hinata that this was just for his ears for the time being, she summoned him into a private sitting room. I'll make this brief. Do you still want to be the Hokage? Of course, Tsunade. Sama. I will always want to be the Hokage. Good. You see, they want the next Hokage to be clear should something happen to me. To avoid a situation like that which ended in me becoming Hokage, I need to find an apprentice. You've changed so much in the last 2.5 years. You've become wiser, more prudent, stronger in every sense of the word. I said I wanted you as my trainee for the position, and they agreed. Only a few were against it, Danzo being the main one. It'll be a while before you complete your training. But I want to make you the next Hokage. At this, Naruto was unable to speak. Tsunade nodded and said, Me? They really agreed that I should be the 6th Hokage? There's no better person for the job. I'll train you up. When I and the council feel you're ready, we'll become company Hokages for a short time, until you're confident. Then I'll step down and it'll be all you. Of course I'll still be there should you need me. What do you say? Tsunade suddenly realized that Naruto was about to. She was aware that since he had begun the academy, it had been his dream. However, that was a long time ago, and he undoubtedly didn't anticipate it happening so quickly. If you agree to become my student, we'll begin to train you after your wedding. Be proud of yourself. To even be considered for this is an honor. You're the first on my list to talk to. Before responding, Naruto shed a tear. Tsunade. Sama, I accept. Tsunade gave him a shoulder clap. They went out to the main room, where everyone was, and said, Good man. Come here. All eyes turned to them as they said, Everyone, I have an announcement to make. Shinobu chuckled and said, Naruto is now my apprentice. Don't you already have an apprentice? Naruto will be such a lousy medical ninja, Shinobu chuckled. Tsunade just grinned. I won't be training him to be a medical ninja. I know he would be lousy at it. It's also not his thing. I'll be training him to become the 6th Hokage. He's earned it. Hinata, be proud of your fiancé. We'll announce it tomorrow. For now, I think a celebration is in order. They had been moving for some time. In order to avoid detection, they never stayed in one spot for more than 2 days at a time. Horyu would also disappear for a while every night for a few days. She always went somewhere Kana didn't know. Her fists were clenched at her sides, silently fuming over some personal issue, and she always looked both sad and angry when she returned. Kana suspected it was always the same one. Horyu kept a journal in which she wrote extensively. She also pushed back in her bag while writing frantically for sometimes more than an hour. Kana had a sneaking suspicion that this shinobi was not who they seemed. Even though she knew Horyu would be gone for several hours, she cautiously pulled out the journal and read a few entries when she mysteriously disappeared once more. Every member of the Uzumaki family shares one characteristic. They're all fools. In fact, Kana believes that I will spare her brother. He and the Hyuga girl will perish at my hands. Given how devastated Satsukiyama, the only family I've ever known, is, they have no right to be so joyful. My poor master had gone insane, Awai had turned traitor, and Jigoku was dead. It just goes to show how much he needs me. I intend to bust the Kyuubi brat out once he's dead in order to restore his sanity. All I have to do is focus on maintaining the facade I have maintained. However, that will be simple. She is so foolish. Kana was aware of it. Horyu was on her own mission. Perhaps she ought to go back to her family. Naruto had stated that she would still be accepted. Perhaps she could get forgiveness if she apologized and gave an explanation, using this journal as evidence. If not, she would take any punishment that was meted out to her. She would, however, keep reading for the time being. I made an effort to persuade Awai to return. However, she has declined. I am forced to view her as an enemy at this point. Awai had always seemed like my big sister to me. However, this demonstrates one thing. That it is true that people can change. I will not trust her again, as I have done once before. I must keep this brief. Kana has gotten smarter, I promise. She might soon begin to suspect something. It's about time she's realized that. It's been obvious that neither of us could be trusted in this situation. One more entry. And if it's good enough, I'll turn myself in. Today, we took an overt action against Naruto. Kana now believes that her brother is actually dead and that a demon has taken over his body as a result. I'm allowing her to believe this. In actuality, Naruto remains himself. Again, though, I'm allowing her to believe this. She won't obstruct me in this way. The foolish prophecy she constantly talks about. I am aware of how it will be realized. Shinku Sama will approve of the bright future. Spreading happiness throughout the world was one of his long-term objectives, but only he and I knew this. This is being obstructed by the demons. In any case, even though he wasn't the source, I'll know it will please him. Kana had already made up her mind. After placing the journal in a secure location within her bag, she placed the bag over her shoulders. She was returning home. Horyu eventually ripped her gaze from the insane asylum and left the perch where she was. She frequently visited this place to ensure that her master was not being mistreated. In the hopes that Kana would have prepared some food to greet her upon her return, she walked quietly back to camp. She noticed right away that she was no longer there. Kana had lost everything she owned. Evidence of her personal belongings being searched was also found. Her journal was the only item she had lost. Oh no! I have to stop her before that journal reaches the wrong people. All of Konoha gathered in the town center that evening. A town meeting had been called by the Hokage, and attendance was encouraged for everyone. When the Hokage finally appeared, she calmed the throng. People, I have a very important announcement to make. The Council of Elders encouraged me to pick a successor for the office of Hokage, as to not be in a situation similar to that which ended up with me being Hokage, that being the third's death when this village was attacked during the Chunin exams. I suggested someone, and that someone is now going to be the sixth Hokage. Everyone started talking at once, speculating about who it might be. Once more, Tsunade demanded order. This someone is, in my opinion, the best man for the job. He has proved himself time and time again, never holding anything back when the time came for it, mainly when this village was in danger. He's changed a lot, becoming more mature, wiser, and stronger. Let me introduce you to your next Hokage, to take office when either I retire when he is ready, or if something happens to me. Come out Naruto. Many people in the crowd were shocked when Naruto Namikaze, who had previously been Uzumaki, emerged. He's going to say a few words, please listen to him. After clearing his throat and inhaling deeply, Naruto started talking. You've all known me for almost my entire life. Those who were close to me knew it was my dream ever since my acceptance into the academy to someday be the Hokage. Though I never thought it would actually happen. I know this office is no joke. It'll be a serious chip on my shoulder in the future. But I swear to you that I'll take it seriously, that everything I do will be for the good of this village. That includes laying down my life should it be necessary. I hope we'll be able to work together in the future to get through that time of transition. His brief speech was followed by silence. Then everyone simply cheered and applauded. Naruto turned to face the people he had always wished to keep safe and would continue to do so in the future. One tear escaped his eye. He brushed it aside quickly. Throughout Konoha, there were numerous small celebrations that evening, marking the assurance of their future under a soon-to-be good leader who was receiving training from one of the best. Even after such a brief speech, Naruto was worn out. He desired to sample some of Saya's homemade cuisine. However, he didn't smell Saya's cooking when he entered the house. He detected the scent of ramen. In the kitchen were the folks from Ikaraku's. They were also preparing ramen. Ramen, lots and lots of it. Ah. Naruto. Sama. This is our congratulations gift to you for your becoming the Hokage in the future. Boy, our Rikudame sure will be a good Hokage. We're lucky. Naruto sat down to savor the mouth-watering aromas emanating from the kitchen and said, "Thanks you guys. You guys don't have to use the prefix, Sama yet." Naruto attempted to demand at least some payment, saying, "We don't. But we want to. Also, this is all on the house." He was shot down, though. "Nope, we're celebrating everything. We're almost done, so go wash up for dinner." That night was crazy in the Namikaze house, so naturally Tsunade stopped by to get some sake again. She tried to get Naruto to drink some, but he refused, claiming he didn't want a bad habit. Perceiving that he was playing a practical joke, Tsunade almost punched him for it. Naruto knew she wouldn't hold back, but fortunately, given how much sake she had consumed, she tripped at the last second, saving him from flying halfway across Konoha. Only once did a knock on the door interrupt their party, and Naruto was startled to see an exhausted Kana standing there, frequently peering over her shoulder. "Naruto, I was mistaken. All this time, she was lying to me. With this, I can prove it." She held out the journal. "I want to return to the family. I'll take any punishment you propose for betrayal." Kana stumbled to her feet and fainted, but Naruto caught her and carried her inside, using his foot to close the door. He wiped away the tears that had been streaming down his face the entire time and entered the room where everyone was. "I know you're enjoying yourself, Saya. Could you set up a room, though?" Finally, a friend and family member have come home. Where she was, it was warm, very warm. She had a dim memory of what had transpired. She had learned of Horyu's scheme to turn on her and murder Hinata and Naruto. She had returned to her brother's house after repeatedly narrowly avoiding death at the hands of Horyu, and she passed out as soon as she completed her mission and turned over the journal. She would no longer attempt to prevent the fulfillment of that prophecy. She would not try to alter the future. She would let it unfold. Perhaps they would stop visiting her if she firmly refused her gift and disregarded the visions. Whether she would be forgiven was the only question. "Don't you have your eyes open?" After slowly opening her eyes and recognizing her brother's voice, she said, "We need to talk." She nodded and tried to sit up, but Naruto assisted her in doing so. "I apologize. I am at a loss for words. I really don't. I'm afraid I just can't ignore this." Naruto sighed. "Betraying someone is a serious matter. Awai had previously attempted to kill me. However, she was not in control of herself because someone was using mind control jutsu on her." He paused and said, "That's not the case with you. Have you really changed your mind? Are you truly sorry?" "Yes, I am." She trailed off into silence. "I just don't know what to do to prove it. If I can be forgiven." "You have my forgiveness. But you have to apologize first. I've got a thought. The Bear Clan is able to detect dishonesty. The same questions I just asked will be asked of you." A man with golden red hair entered and said, "This is Kanaka of the Bear Clan. If they say you're telling the truth, I'll tell you the rest of the plan I have for you." Kana nodded. "If you are lying, he will tell me." Naruto. "Sama, no need. This girl is obviously sorry and will stop at nothing to earn forgiveness. She's given up trying to stop that prophecy from happening." Naruto raised his eyebrows in a glance at his half-sister. "Is this accurate? When I came here, I meant what I said. Even if it means death, I'll take any punishment you give me." Naruto nodded. "Aren't I going to die?" "No, if you're genuinely sorry, then death is not necessary," Naruto said with a smile and a shake of his head. "Thank you, Kanaka." Kanaka bowed and departed, while Naruto approached the window and rolled it open, saying, "There's an old building out there. The isolation hut is what records refer to it as. There, a former ninja monk who was one of my cousins used to meditate. He was killed in action and is now dead, but that isn't important. For a month, the only food you'll have is porridge and water. Nobody is going to speak to you. You will only be permitted to have a journal, writing instrument, and a few candles to write by as personal belongings. Additionally, only the most basic comforts. You will be regarded as forgiven and proudly reintegrated into the family if you come out as someone else after that month. I appreciate your mercy." Few people would have taken this action. Kana bowed her head in humility, determined not to waste the second chance that she had just been given. "All I can say is that you're forgiven. But as the head of a clan, a shinobi, and the next Hokage, I have to be firm." Kana laughed. "What's so funny?" "This won't sit well with Horyu. She believes it's unjust that you enjoy such happiness while she and her master suffer greatly. She and Shinku doomed themselves when they began the path they now travel on," Naruto said, his face darkening. "Only the individual is to blame. Their behavior only serves to highlight the need for them to mature. They're exactly the same as I was a few years ago, stupid and cocky." "At what point does my sentence begin?" Naruto became solemn once more. "It starts tomorrow." From his window, Naruto watched as the Bear Clan led Kana to the isolation hut. She was dressed simply in white, indicating that she was performing penance, and at least 2 shinobi would be watching it constantly, not because he expected her to try to flee, but because he trusted her to accept Naruto's punishment. However, because of Horyu, Kana's group disappeared. Now that he was out of sight, they returned to the very end of the family's property, where a big, unadorned building stood out. Kanaka, the escort's leader, went ahead and opened the door, saying, "From now on, no human voices will speak to you. In this area, silence will be enforced. You get it?" "I understand," said Kana, nodding. "Thank you." Kana entered the building, or rather, the hut, and heard the door lock behind her. As her brother had promised, there were only the necessities. A low table with writing instruments, a cot with white blankets and pillows, a small box of candles and a way to light them, and a hardbound book beneath the table that, when she pulled it out, revealed a journal with blank pages. After Kana started her penance, Naruto planned to visit the insane asylum that afternoon. He didn't know why, but he felt compelled to see Shinku because, as Kin had mentioned, this sequence of events was causing him to reflect on the past and Satsukiyama, because he was the only surviving member he didn't see frequently and he wanted to see how he was doing. He also wanted to know what Horyu was up to. After putting on his jacket and examining himself critically, Naruto saw a figure clinging to the ceiling in a corner with a weapon drawn. The figure abruptly released its hold and charged directly at him, and Naruto swerved to the right before landing on the ground. As he fell, he reached out and knocked down the sword stand that held the sword that Hinata and her family had given him, and the sword clattered to the ground. Horyu tried to stab Naruto again, and as he stopped, he took the sword out of its sheath, leaving the sheath in a corner of his room and keeping it ready. The sword steadily thrummed, leaving Naruto confused because, as far as he could tell, katanas didn't thrum. "Jinchuriki, what did you do with that sword?" As it was, Naruto was also unaware of what had transpired, but Horyu had sensed it, and the thrumming ceased. "No idea." Horyu had an idea, but Naruto had to take care of the current situation first. Naruto mentally noted that he needed to ask Heishi about the sword. "It's not possible. That sword simply tuned in to your unique chakra signature. I heard that there were weapons like that, but I never would have imagined you would have one. Swords like that were uncommon. They attuned to the chakra of the first person to wield them in combat, and only that person could use them after that. We settle this now. We should head to a private location where we won't be disturbed. Think of this as a challenge." Pakun led a group around Konoha. When asked if he had seen Naruto, Kakashi had been busy setting up the new genin teams. Hinata, fed up with everyone seemingly getting in the way of her and Naruto, had gathered some people to help her find her fiancé after finding him and the sword he had received from her and her family gone. The stand was knocked down, lying on the floor, and there were other minor signs of a struggle. As a result, Hinata, Lee, Sakura, Ino, and even Neji had joined forces to search for the missing blonde. Kakashi had called in Pakun, one of his ninkin dogs, to help them locate the woman. "I smell like him. The Valley of the End is where it is. He had previously fought there with Sasuke. Why would he be in that place?" Pakun's sniffing intensified. "And who is he fighting with?" When he brought up the final point, Hinata became more resolute. "Pakun, can you tell me anything else? As if he's injured?" Hinata asked. trying her hardest to believe in Naruto and hoping for the best. They are on an equal footing. But he's getting tired easily. The others were perplexed by Hinata's panic, as they were unaware of the demon within him and the consequences of the red chakra leaking out. Sakura, on the other hand, was well aware of the situation, given that she had been harmed by Naruto after he had allowed the red chakra to take control. "We should tell them, Hinata," Sakura said, placing a hand on Hinata's shoulder. Everyone else was even more perplexed than before, and Hinata appeared doubtful when she said, "If they're going to be seeing him like that, they need to be warned." Hinata remarked, "I'm not sure, Sakura. This is a personal struggle for him. Furthermore, didn't the third order that no one discuss it?" As soon as Sakura finished, Pakun cleared his throat impatiently and said, "No offense, the third is dead. We all still obey his edicts. But they also his friends. If they're to fully help him, like they want to, they need to know." Hinata said, "I'll tell them on the way there." Everyone gave a nod and moved to the trees. "But keep this a secret. Please, for his sake." Everyone waited for Hinata to continue, saying, "Neji knows a little as well. And Sakura and I have seen what he can do if he lets it take over. His father was the fourth Hokage, as you know, but you don't know that the fourth, to save Konoha, sealed the demon in Naruto's body shortly after he was born. This accounts for his fast healing, endurance, and high amount of quality. When he trained with Jiraiya, he learned to draw out the fox's chakra at will to help him when needed. But when he gets angry and uses that chakra, it opens up a chance for the demon to take control. If the red chakra is coming out, tails will start to form. If more than 4 form, he loses control of himself, the chakra repeatedly burns him badly, then heals. If it goes on too long, it shortens his lifespan. If this happens, let me deal with him. I can calm him down like no one else to bring him back to his old self." Speaking on behalf of the group, Lee stated, "We will." Hinata nodded courageously, hoping Naruto would comprehend why he confided in the others about his issue. "If it comes to that, you and Sakura help Naruto. We'll handle the opponent. This is quite a burden though. No wonder he's made such changes lately. To protect himself and others." Sakura cheerfully remarked. Hinata also helped with that. She sort of counterbalanced his volatile emotions. He truly changed as a result of his love for her. They're simply meant to be together. "I remember when we were just genin," Ino said, laughing. She passed out just by seeing him enter the same room as her. Hinata laughed at this. Even worse when he tried to talk to her. "It's true. After he was beaten up on a mission, I once went to see him in the hospital. I vowed to have courage and not faint. He was on the ceiling when I entered his room with flowers to lift his spirits. He began screaming at me to let him leave the hospital right away because he initially believed I was Tsunade Sama." Hinata chuckled at the recollection. "I instinctively headbutted him in the face, causing him to crash into the opposite side of the room and hit the floor." Like everyone else, Lee smiled, pleased to see Hinata happy, albeit with a hint of worry. Prior to dating Naruto, she had never smiled, always feeling depressed, as evidenced by her missions. However, after that, she gained confidence almost instantly, and she was suddenly one of their generation's more gifted members. "We're here." Hakun's statement broke the lighthearted atmosphere, and everyone became very serious as soon as they saw Naruto fighting someone. Hinata used her Byakugan and peered closer, noticing that both were only slightly hurt and that Horyu Hinone was the assailant. For the time being, though, she concentrated on Naruto. "Sakura, I don't think you'll need to be ready," she said. "The burns don't begin until after he loses control, and the second tail is just beginning to form. Then I'll join the battle. You ought to soothe him. Is there anything else we should know?" Hinata took a closer look at the larger picture and appeared suddenly relieved. "He is resisting it. Attempting to pull the tails back by himself. He is preventing more from forming, but he is having difficulty pushing them back on his own. Guys, don't hold back. Since before we met, this girl has only served to irritate Naruto and me, both directly and indirectly." Hinata's positive attitude cheered everyone up. "All right, let's go. Use your youth's power and activate." Neji managed to hit her with his gentle fist style, sending her flying, while Ino stayed back, as they had it handled. After Horyu had gone flying, Sakura had leapt above her and punched her in the gut, making her fall even faster. Lee, of course, didn't want to be left out. Lee yelled the last part with gusto as he charged Horyu. Horyu dodged the kick Lee sent at her. He shouted something about the power of youth as he kicked her into the mountainside, and as a result, no one stood in Hinata's way as she reached Naruto's side. "Hinata." His voice was a little rougher than usual, and he started to calm down. The red chakra disappeared, the talons turned to fingernails, and the red eyes turned back to clear blue. He leaned against the tree and said, "I guess the battle is taken care of." Hinata wanted to punch her fiancé, but she refrained. "Take a nap here. They've won the battle." He nodded as he observed his companions beating Horyu. "That was what I wanted to do." "Oh well," he said with a friendly smile. "Even if we beat the living daylights out of her, it won't stop her mind from working. She is now surviving on willpower." Sakura shouted, and Ino took the initiative. "No one assaults her," she shouted, and Ino used her mind transfer technique to directly stun her mind. She then withdrew it, allowing Lee and Neji to catch Horyu's falling body. Neji took a headpiece out of a secret pocket, put it on, and said into it, "Horyu Hinone has been apprehended, Tsunade Sama." She and Naruto got into a fight, which ended in the Valley of the End. Neji spoke again, so Tsunade must have responded, "There are no serious injuries to report." "Understood." He turned to the others, and he said, "An ambush squad is on its way to take her into custody." Everyone nodded and took a seat close to Naruto, saying, "We're to wait here." Sakura moved next to him and looked at his arm before pushing hard on his right shoulder blade, which made Naruto yell out, "Thanks for coming, guys." He smiled, indicating that he should rub the back of his head with his right hand, and winced. "You didn't know you had a shoulder dislocation?" Naruto shook his head. Sakura suddenly punched him. "Idiot. You're stunned. You are unable to feel any of your wounds because of this." Everyone laughed, including Naruto as Hinata helped him up, and she healed the remainder of his wounds. "When you go home, make sure to rest." When the Anbu squad arrived, it was a very interesting sight. The young shinobi had all grown bored, and while Lee was doing pull-ups while hanging by his legs from a tree, Ino was counting for him and occasionally miscounting to try to trip him up. Sakura was tending to Horyu's worst injuries because they knew that if they healed them all, she might wake up, which they didn't want to happen. Hinata and Naruto were a little distance away, talking quietly and occasionally laughing, when Hinata suddenly doubled up and laughed in a really annoying way. Horyu was taken by the Anbu, who then disappeared with her. Shizune called everyone together, and they formed a half-circle around her, Hinata gasping a little from laughter. "Please be more careful the next time you all do this. Particularly you, Naruto." Naruto, who was already beaming from making Hinata laugh so hard with his tickles, only brightened his smile. "Go home and rest now, everyone." Naruto nearly moaned, "Write reports tonight." He had always detested mission reports, but he had better get used to them if he was going to be the Rikudame in the future. As the isolation hut had neither windows nor clocks, Kana could only observe the passing of time slowly. Every third meal signified the passing of a day. She used the time to reflect and consider her future plans. She was going to go straight, and Naruto had promised her that she would be welcomed back to the family as a new person at the end of her time here. Kin didn't like to treat her that way, but it was part of Kana's sentenced punishment, and since she had only heard her voice while she was here, Kana didn't know what was going on with Horyu. "It doesn't make sense to worry," Kin said as the door opened softly and she walked in with her meal before leaving as soon as possible. "It'll only make things worse." Kana found it very soothing to sit with her legs crossed in the meditation position, clearing her mind of all material concerns and concentrating solely on her mental and spiritual state. There was, in fact, a part of her that resented the punishment her brother had given her, but there was also a part of her that spoke wisely and overcame the resentment, telling her that this was for her own good, that this was what she had been waiting for so long, and that she was finally receiving it. One morning, Naruto awoke with a sense of optimism, looking at the calendar on his bedroom wall. His sister Kana had calmly accepted her isolation sentence, and he hoped it had helped her to simply think and forget about the outside world. The two girls barely knew each other, so it was unrealistic to expect them to know each other's preferred way of living. Shinobu had already prepared a permanent room for her, decorated it, and hoped Kana would be happy with it, but she wasn't going to be upset if she wanted it differently. Naruto, on the other hand, dressed for the day and tried to remain composed until the afternoon, when she would be released, so that the family could spend time together and take a soothing bath, getting to know the new Kana, who would hopefully be gone forever from her time in seclusion. Hinata stopped by with her father, with some wedding-related plans. Tsunade had respected their wishes and only sent them missions when absolutely necessary, and the couple had used the quiet time to properly plan their wedding, setting a date that would allow Kana to attend, fully recovered and rested. The wedding was just a short time away. The next thing Naruto knew, it was time to let Kana go. He was the only one who would let her go and take her back to the house. Everyone else would be waiting to greet her. Taking the key from Saya, who understood how eager he was to see his sister again, he said, "I'll have clothes and a bath ready for her. Lunch will be ready by the time she leaves," Saya informed her master. "Saya, You are simply incredible. Without you, this house wouldn't be home. Saya simply grinned at Naruto's praise and ushered him out, taking his time so he could greet her return in a kind and joyous manner. The isolation hut stood on the very edge of the property his family owned, and he was pleased to see how large it was now, given that he had begun with none. He arrived at the hut and unlocked the door, and when Kana, who had just finished her meditation, looked up, she expected to see a Bear Clan member eating, but instead she saw her brother standing in the doorway, his arms by his side, smiling foolishly. Your allotted time is up. Are you prepared to reunite with the family? With her eyes shielded from the bright sun she hadn't seen in a month, Kana stood up and walked to her brother's side. Yes, I am. I'm glad you sent me here. Naruto closed the door behind them as Kana left the hut, feeling a little out of place after spending a month there. I needed it the most, Kana said. We're prepared to have you return. Shinobu has a room ready for you. Although she won't be offended if you want to make changes, she hopes you like it. Here, we want you to feel content and at ease. Saya has also prepared new clothes and a bath for you. Lunch will be prepared by the time you finish taking a bath. And you are the honored guest. As he said this, they arrived at the house, but before she could respond or he could open the door, Kushina opened it first, taking Kana's place. You take too long. Kana, hurry up. Nearly everything is prepared. Kushina grinned and shooed everyone away to give her Kana space. We're just missing you. Everyone halted their activities when Kana called Kushina Uzumaki, Mom. Kushina's smile widened and a single tear fell, and she leaned down to give Kana a hug. Thanks, Mom. My daughter, whom I'm proud to have, you're welcome. The scent of Saya's cooking drifted up the stairs as Kana relaxed in the bath, but she had very little of Saya's cooking before she left. She was still troubled by something, though, because she knew her family had forgiven her, but she wasn't sure if Hinata, Naruto's fiancé, whom she had attempted to kill, would also forgive her after everything that had happened. She hoped Hinata would, but she would fully understand if she didn't. As she descended the stairs to join her family for lunch, however, she noticed Hinata Hyuga leaning on the kitchen counter, talking excitedly to Saya, who cleared her throat and gestured to Kana as she descended in her clean clothes, her hair still damp from the bath. Hinata quickly turned around. She was happy to see Kana, but her face was not angry, nor was she storming up and hurling insults and accusations at her. Instead, she was grinning broadly, her eyes showing no signs of anger or malice. Kana, you're back. We planned the wedding so you could leave and recuperate completely. And you don't have to be concerned about my family. They have agreed to Naruto's ruling regarding your case. Kana was at a loss for words. Shinobu suddenly appeared and gave her sister a backslap, saying, Come on, there's no time to remain silent. You have a lot of family to meet and get to know. I mean a lot. Additionally, lunch is almost ready. Are you prepared? Will you please stop fidgeting, Naruto? Heishi inquired. Naruto was getting married to the love of his life this afternoon, and although he was anxious, he was also very excited. Since a father would typically assist his son in getting ready for his wedding, and since Naruto's father had passed away, Heishi was assisting him. Naruto was dressed entirely in black and wearing his father's old robes, the same ones Minato Namikaze had worn when he was Hokage. Heishi finished adjusting Naruto's attire and glanced at the clock on the tent's wall, saying, It's almost time. As Naruto left the tent to go to the altar, his groomsman gave him the thumbs up. I'll tell Neji to make the announcement that we're ready. Neji, who had been waiting outside, left the tent, made sure the women were ready, and told everyone waiting outside that they were ready to begin. They had gotten Tsunade to perform the ceremony, as she was the village leader and the one who gave the final assent for Shinobi to marry, and she smiled at Naruto as he reached her, dressed in a gorgeous forest green and white gown. Everyone was excited outside, and the center of the space was completely occupied with chairs, with a wide walkway between the rows. 2 tents were located far to the side and at the back, one for the men and one for the women to get ready, and Naruto heard laughter as he left the tent. Heishi signaled the beginning of the music, and the bridal party, one by one from each tent, went out and met the person they were to walk with. Hinata had selected her sister as maid of honor, and Naruto had asked Gaara, Kazekage of the Sand, to be his best man. Gaara accepted the invitation and came early, staying with Naruto to get ready for the wedding. Kiba and Kana followed them, and Kiba and 10.10 were followed by Sai and Shinobu. After the music had changed, Hinata finally made her way down the aisle, wearing a white kimono and sporting lilies in her elegantly styled long hair, as well as the necklace Naruto had given her. Kushina and Shinobu had assisted Hinata in getting ready, since her mother had also passed away, but Heishi was the one who escorted her to the altar, where she joined Naruto and they turned to face the Hokage, who was now their priest. Today, We've come to join a couple who are obviously meant to be together. Who is giving away the bride, may I ask? Tsunade inquired. Heishi got up and sat back down, saying proudly, that would be me, her father. The couple at the altar exchanged supportive glances before starting. Being married can be challenging, particularly for two young shinobi like you. Both of you have contributed to the development of the other's current and future selves. Tsunade cleared her throat loudly to get their attention, and Naruto and Hinata exchanged a smile. I can only wish you two happiness in the journey you are about to embark on together. Hinata Hyuga, will you accept this young man as your spouse, both in your youth and in your old age, in good health and in bad health? The young bride was asked by Tsunade. Hinata's eyes were starting to well up now, and she said, loudly and clearly enough for everyone to hear, I will. In your youth and old age, in good health and bad, do you, Naruto Minato Kamikaze, consider this young woman to be your spouse? Naruto's voice wavered as he responded. I do. Hanabi and Gaara gave the rings to Tsunade, who then gave the rings to Hinata and Naruto. Naruto placed Hinata's ring on her ring finger, and Hinata placed Naruto's on his. I now declare you two to be husband and wife. As Naruto and Hinata finished their long and passionate kiss, Tsunade raised her hands over the couple and said, I now present to you Mr. and Mrs. Namikaze. The crowd applauded as Tsunade left the altar and gave the newlyweds a hug, saying, I've known you two since you were genin. You two are now getting married on my behalf. She chuckled and made room for everyone else who wanted to congratulate the newlyweds, saying, I must be getting old. In a large shaded pavilion, they were followed to the table where the cake had been set, where someone had been frantically taking pictures the entire time, and they each took a bite out of the small piece they had cut. They were the ones who served the cake to their guests, which was one way they weren't doing the wedding the old-fashioned way. The chairs were being moved to make room for the dancing that was about to begin, and after everyone had their turn, Naruto led his new bride out to the cleared area, and they danced for the first time as soon as the music began. As he spun Hinata around, Naruto remarked, we had a bigger turnout than expected. Well, there are two large clans celebrating a marriage. You are aware that this is also a political tool. It's also big because the Kazekage was your best man, Hinata replied with a smile. Hee hee. We still have a long life to live. Let's just enjoy the time we have now and think about how we will spend our future time together. Hinata chuckled. Mom says she expects grandchildren any day now. That's not surprising. But according to my dad, we must wait. When the first child is born, he'll go crazy if we aren't married for a few months at least. In your opinion, what will happen to them? They can reach one of two bloodline limits. Oohs and ahs were heard as Naruto concluded the song by dipping his wife and kissing her. Everything has changed, Naruto said with an excited smile. Well, Mrs. Namikaze, what should we do now? He asked Hinata this in passing, enjoying her joyful laughter, and the two of them appeared to be one at the table where gifts had been brought for the new couple. Why don't we open some gifts? Naruto pointed to a few of the people who had gathered at the wedding instead. Lee and Sakura had gotten together, and he probably wasn't her first choice. He could clearly recall the time he had been smitten with Sakura, just as she was still Sasuke today. Kurenai and Asuma had also arrived as a couple. Let's go out and mingle. They made room at the packed table for the newlyweds and walked over to where the majority of their generation of shinobi sat collectively. We have quite a bit of day left us, they said. We are very pleased for you, Naruto. So where are you two going for your honeymoon? Sakura yelled, grabbing some snacks and drinks from a passing waiter and giving them to Naruto and Hinata. It must be a special place. In fact, we'll be taking a tour of the shinobi villages, Naruto said with a smile. Outside of the 5 major shinobi villages, Hinata has never really had any missions. Furthermore, I've only visited a small number of other villages. Suna will be the primary destination. We will remain as Gaara's visitors. Hinata is particularly interested in visiting the waterfall village. It makes sense that she would be drawn to a water village given her water-natured chakra. We wish to expand our perspectives. Naruto will require the experience at some point. Everyone recalled that he had been chosen to be the next Hokage. Hinata was grinning widely when Heishi approached their table. My daughter and I would like to dance. Heishi dragged them off, saying, your mother would like to dance with you, Naruto. Their friends laughed and decided to dance together as well, but Kushina only took one dance. Naruto was happy to see that Kana was enjoying herself, but he was worried that she would feel bad. As she passed him dancing with 10.10, who had requested a dance, she said, calm down, brother. The old me is gone. I've been reborn, and I don't feel bad about what I used to do. The next thing everyone knew, The sun was going to set, so they all stopped and watched it go down. The Hyuga and Namikaze families were left alone, and Hinata was just in a new world that she was sharing. They loaded their gifts into a cart, which Shinobu and Kushina then took home. Welcome home, Hinata. Sama. Naruto realized something and said, "Oh yeah, Saya. You can call her Hinata. Sama now." Hinata blushed as they were carried up to their room, which had been redecorated because she was soon to move in and now had. Naruto swept his new bride off her feet and carried her into the Namikaze house. "Well, I'm eager. We're going on our honeymoon in 2 days. We'll return and begin our new life as we left it." Naruto grinned and assisted her in taking off her intricate kimono, putting on cozy pajamas and removing his robe for him. "Should we unwind now?" "Oh, I see." Naruto nuzzled her neck and switched off the light, saying, "We should unwind." Hinata sat in their living room with her 2 children. Their eldest daughter, Tsukiko, looked exactly like her father, with the exception that she had Hyuga eyes. Tsukiko was 10 years old and had been born when Naruto had just become Hokage. Kazu, who was 7 years old, looked exactly like his mother, with the exception that he had normal eyes. Tsukiko and Kazu abruptly left, and Hinata checked the clock. It was 5:30 p.m., which was not surprising, as it was the time their father usually arrived home, and they would always know the moment Naruto walked through the door. She got up and was greeted by her husband in the living room, and Tsukiko was hanging off Naruto's waist, smiling the entire time. "I became much better at target practice." "Oh, please." Naruto wrenched her away from his waist. "Give me some time. Let me eat dinner and unwind. Then perhaps I will train you." He knelt down and lifted Kazu, who was putting on his robes of flame. "What is it, son?" Tsukiko resembled a chibi female Naruto, while Kazu exhibited more of his mother's traits. "Daddy, I'm happy you're home. Is it possible for us to train tonight as well?" Naruto pretended to sigh. "I want to be like my dad, the strongest shinobi in Konoha. We'll just have to train as a family tonight, I suppose." "Kazu, keep in mind that power isn't everything. Being a good ninja also requires intelligence." "The same goes to you, Tsukiko." Kazu gave a firm nod. Naruto thought about his family and wished that both of his parents could be present to enjoy their grandchildren, but Kushina had passed away 4 years ago, and Shinobu had also married Sai, catching the bouquet at their wedding and having been asked to marry him 3 years later. Kana was now seeing a man named Suzuki, who was a nephew of the man who had previously owned Ikaraku Ramen. The previous owner had passed away from old age around the same time as Suzuki, and his daughter assisted in running the restaurant. Shizune continued to live with Tsunade, who was now retired and leading a comfortable life filled with gambling and sake. He had employed a lively young shinobi named Suzuka as his secretary. Though Naruto was aware that catastrophe could occur at any time, Konoha was doing very well and was relishing a period of peace. The elders were one headache he did not have to deal with. They had been elderly when Tsunade had been Hokage, and by the time he had assumed the position, they had passed away. A retired Jiraiya and Captain Yamato had taken their place, but there was no question that Yamato was the voice of reason. Naruto was constantly on guard to make sure that did not happen again, and he was looking forward to appointing a clear successor soon. "Dinner is ready, Naruto. Sama and Hinata. Sama. I made your favor tonight, young masters." The children jogged into the kitchen and sat down, waiting almost impatiently for Saya to declare that everyone was free to eat. "Saya, you are incredible. Without you, where would this family be? Furthermore, where is Kana?" Saya brought some food for the kids. "Tonight, Kana, Sama and Suzuki are having dinner together. I believe he is preparing to pop the question at any moment. Oh, and Kazu has been experiencing depression once more. The absence of a bloodline limit once more." Naruto approached his son, who had been feeling depressed lately. Tsukiko wasn't trying to be arrogant about discovering her mother's bloodline limit. Rather, her eyes served as a constant reminder to Kazu that his eyes were normal. "Kazu, don't let the fact that you have no bloodline limit bring you down. I've made the decision to give mine to you when you're older. But first, you'll need a lot of chakra and need to get a little stronger. We'll work something out. I'll teach you my Shuniji once you're a Chunin. Deal?" Kazu shook Naruto's larger hand and held out his own, saying, "I'm not sure if I'll teach it to you, Tsukiko. Your mother's will probably be given to you already. I want to maintain fairness. I won't be envious if you teach big sister too, Daddy. She's also your daughter." Naruto affectionately tousled Kazu's dark hair and messed up Tsukiko's flawless ponytail that Saya had assisted her in putting up. "Daddy, Saya did a great job doing my hair this morning, and you spoiled it," One way that Tsukiko was like her mother was that she was much more serious than Naruto had been at her age. She scowled when her father, who knew she was mostly just playing around, stuck out his tongue childishly at her. After placing the dinner on the table and letting the adults help themselves, she said to Naruto, "All right, everyone, sit down. Including you, young master. These children have a bright future ahead of them, and even if something were to happen to me, they would be taken care of." Naruto thought happily, now everything will be okay.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.